Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by regular co-host Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben, and indeed everybody. How you all
Hello,
doing?
everybody. Hello, Andy. Lovely mauve jumper. And we are joined by a very special guest today. Ashley B. Red is a musician, horror fanatic, and horror TikToker. Welcome to the show, Ashley. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Very
How are
good.
you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good. I just want to give you a heads up to say that my cat is currently staring at me in the corner, so she might join at any point.
What does that mean? Does that mean the cat's gonna leap into frame,
I've
possibly?
just seen her staring at me like, what's going on here? So she might jump in, but yeah, she's very
We've had
shy.
a number of unusual guests. My dogs will kick off periodically. We've had animals, we've had babies come and join episodes.
We have.
It's,
We have had that, yeah.
You never
take
know.
it all in stride over here.
As long as a Count Orlok doesn't suddenly appear in your window,
I would love that.
you would love that. Oh my God.
He'd have to
I
give
mean,
you notice, though, wouldn't he?
that would be fun. I mean, you wouldn't. It would be a best podcast viewing for you guys, right?
Well, you'd come
That'd
to
be
the
great.
window and you'd
Yeah.
interrupt you and you'd say, Count Orlok, I'm recording everything except 3 days. On the first night, I'm just going to mess with the audio a little bit. On the second night, I'm going to interfere with the video. On the third night, if you ain't got kettle on when I come round, it's going to be hell to pay.
He's going to come in with his lovely skinny legs. That might be a spoiler. But he's going to come with his lovely slim legs. Can I question this? I know it's right from the get-go. Did he always have skinny legs, or did he only have skinny legs in that instance?
I think
because
he'd
he
been
was-
made poorly by the events that had unravelled throughout the film. And that is a film in context. There is genuinely a line in Nosferatu where Lee Rose Depp said, "Oh, please, Craven the Hunter, don't throw us out. Thomas is still really poorly."
Yeah. That's the
Mhm.
Ashley, we do enjoy the word poorly on this show. The word poorly is used to describe
Anything short
anyone.
of death.
Anyone who's been
Okay.
killed or near dead, they've been made poorly. So that's
Yeah.
the reason we do that.
Okay. Are we allowed spoilers? I take it spoilers are
Yeah,
coming.
Yeah, we're
spoilers.
gonna-
Like,
Just before I.
We will
Okay.
label this episode as spoilerific, but also, story-wise, it's not a million miles off of the original and the 1979 remake, and it's not a million miles off Dracula. So,
legally
if you're-
distinct, though, if you're the widow of Bram
Legally
Stoker and
distinct.
you're listening.
so
Yeah.
if the events of this film are big spoilers for you, then perhaps you shouldn't have pressed play in the first place.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Can we
I think
all
with
agree
a
on
film
that?
like this, yeah, we're going to be talking about the visuals and everything like that. I know it is still a fairly new film, depending on where you are in the world, but yeah, you know where you're coming from by now. We're going to go through all the details, so either
Deep
be sure you
dive.
don't care or watch it first.
The deepest of deep dives. I managed to avoid any, because obviously certain spoilers that I wanted to avoid were the look of Count Orlok.
Yeah.
And I think I did see a couple of memes, a couple of mustache-based memes.
Oh, that's the biggest spoiler.
But I don't know. For me, it kind of it made me feel a bit more excited to see it.
Yeah.
'Cause I was like,
I might
okay,
see what his mustache was
it's
like.
not just a straight up
Yeah.
copy of the 1922. 1922?
Just
And apparently, it
never
is
would've-
quite close to the text, right? Like it does mention having a big mustache, but no beard.
Yeah, apparently they were saying that I don't know if this is fact checked, but I've heard that they said Robert Eggers based it on like something that was more of a villain because all the old school villains used to have really big mustaches. That's what I keep hearing, and
Yeah.
I didn't know that before. I was like, okay, that's quite
Yeah.
interesting.
And Vlad the
Yeah.
Impaler had a similar
Mm,
mustache to it, didn't he? Which was the style
Yeah.
of the time.
I
Oh,
guess.
Vlad. I've seen a lot of people though who have come out of this film are shocked that it's so similar to Dracula.
It's
Maybe
so
because they-
silly they didn't know that.
Maybe because they just weren't aware. Yeah, exactly. People have been going, well, that's basically Dracula, isn't it? And everyone's
Going to these
well,
films. Been
that's kind of the
seeing a
point.
mummy film. Egypt again.
Mm.
It's
It's basically
exactly
the same story. It's exactly the same. I am surprised how many people didn't know that. Because I thought that was like common knowledge that Nosferatu was Dracula. I thought
Yeah.
that was quite, yeah. And a lot of people have come out of it like, oh, they've just copied it. It's like, It's like,
Just a bloody same.
yeah. It's like...
Been to see
Yeah.
the new James Bond the other day. You'll never guess what the world's in danger again.
Bloody secret agent. Can't believe it. Obviously, we're honoured to have you on the show, Ashley. Thank you so
Thank
much for joining
you.
us. It's much appreciated. I've been following your TikToks for a long time, watching your TikTok reviews of horror movies, time and time again, getting some recommendations from it. So you said you've been doing it for a couple of years now?
Yeah, so I started doing TikTok maybe around 2 years ago, and because I'm a singer-songwriter, so I do horror movie-based music, which is obviously very niche and it's not going to be up everyone's street. But I do regular gigs around London like every couple of months or so. And yeah, I started doing just sort of horror-based music, and I thought, well, because I do the music, the best way I think I can get my music out there is to talk about horror films that I love, and it just kind of combined into one. And I think I went from having like something like 7,000 to maybe like nearly 14,000 now, just from the end of the end of last year. And I was like, okay, this is going well. Like
Wow.
people actually care and they want to watch the films I'm recommending, and it's something that I care about, that I'm not just like talking rubbish. It's something I really do love talking about and I
Yeah.
love and I care about. So I started just recommending films like every other day. And then I thought, well, I could do this every day. And it does take up a little chunk of my day. But once you've done the editing and everything, you're like, the more that it comes out with the algorithm and how TikTok does work, is that you do have to post quite consistently. That is how the game
Mhm.
works. That is how it does work. And yeah, I started figuring out how to get an audience. And honestly, it's just nice having like a little community of people that care about something so
Yeah.
niche and so good to talk about.
And
Yeah,
it's
I
nice to
love it.
share about the stuff that you like about, right? As well.
Yeah,
So, like, if you're really passionate about horror yourself, like,
yeah. I
I
love it.
guess it's part of the
Mm,
work done already, right? It's not like,
it
oh, I gotta
is.
sit and watch this thing that I hate.
No,
TikTok's
and it's fun because like you do, when I do gigs, I get so many different reactions because I did this gig that was on like a theater ship and it was this old school boat. And everyone was like, "This is so spooky," but it really fitted that sort of vibe. Whereas I did it somewhere else where I've just started singing about like Ghostface or like Michael Myers, and people are like, "What in the hell is it?" It just depends on where you go and where you get booked. So sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I'll not play
Can
there.
I
Maybe
get
I'll
booked
play.
exclusively in haunted ships, please?
Yeah, like, I would love that. Like the thing is that this boat didn't move because I don't like boats. When they said you can play on a ship, I was like, maybe.
Oh,
And then yeah, I'm not sure. And then I went there and it was really cool. It's like an old school like theater ship, like near like Canary Wharf. It's really, really nice. And it's just like really sweet. And they do like old movie nights there where they're free and you can go and grab a drink and stuff. It's really,
oh,
really nice
wow.
little place. So yeah, but place like that it goes down well. And sometimes like a pub on like a Friday night when everyone's watching football doesn't go down as well.
I'll sing
So,
some songs about football.
Don't know.
yeah, yeah, they're like, why is she singing about horror movies? This is really creepy. Like, what is this? Like, and I'm like, yeah, it's maybe not the
You
best,
need
but
to
it's
take
not
your
for everybody.
you need to take a universal remote control and just switch the football
Yeah,
off and then just
yeah,
carry on singing. Then
I
people have no
know.
choice.
Put like Evil Dead 2
Yeah.
on.
Oh, that'd be great. You just pop that in the background.
Were you not tempted when you played your gig on
Mm,
the, I imagine, hopefully not actually haunted ship, when you played it
no.
on the theatre boat, were you not
Mhm.
tempted to come out, sing a song about Triangle, and then go for a break and then come back and sing a song about Triangle and
That
just
would have been
not
so good.
Or
Also, a really good movie.
you could have set up a ghost ship style wire to just take everyone's heads clean off.
Do
swipe
you
them off on the
know?
dance floor?
Do you know what? I only just watched that like 2 weeks ago for the first time. I had never watched Ghost Ship before.
Did
And
you?
everyone was like, you have to watch this film. It has like the best opening that you'll ever see. And I didn't know what to expect. I went in like completely blind, had no clue what this was going to be. And I was like, okay, this is really, really good. But I didn't love the rest of the movie, I'm not gonna lie. It was good,
Yeah.
but
Great
the
cold
beginning was
open.
amazing. Yeah, and then I was like,
It is one of those
yeah,
where you're like,
yeah,
yeah, you could easily switch it off after the
yeah,
first few minutes
yeah.
and probably feel just the same amount of film.
Yeah, I was like,
Feel like
nothing's really happened there. But great opening though.
it's got a
Lovely
long
opening.
life
Yeah.
of being played
Mm.
in a, to baffle copyright strike bots, being played at
Mm.
like 1.6 speed on like Facebook Reels with
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
makes
We've
me
all
so
been there.
makes me so raging. It's like, oh, a scene of a film that someone's
Mm.
uploaded and so put mad film. You'll never mess with his daughter again. Played at 1.6 speed, 8 million views. I'm like,
The
oh,
way
okay,
most directors want their films to be watched in 112
Yeah.
parts on TikTok.
yeah, as
Pretty
intended.
much.
Exactly.
That's a
Obviously,
good
we'll
one.
put what we'll do. We'll put a link to your TikTok in the show notes and
Thank you so much.
a link to your Spotify on there as well. Have
Thank
you got
you.
any plans to release any new music this year?
Well, to be honest, my Spotify's gone really quiet at the moment. It was doing really well a while back, and I was focused so much on doing the TikToks that I'll be honest, I haven't really uploaded that much recently. But I have written a couple of songs that I'll probably release in the next 6 months or so, definitely. I've got a gig coming up next week. That's like so much going on, not prepared.
Wow.
Next week, and then I have another one Oh, there's my other cat just arrived, Moriarty. Sorry, I know he was going to arrive at some point.
Moriarty. What was
there's
the name of the first cat?
Amber. She's a pretty little one.
Oh.
Moriarty is exactly as he sounds. I'm sure he'll pop up in a bit. Yes, but yeah, so next week, and then I've got one that I'm doing for like Mind mental health charity, which is going to be in East London. But I think that one's going to be really nice because that's actually just for creators that do like dark alternative music, so it'll definitely fit in a bit more with my style there.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun.
And we'll obviously, in that case, we'll post on whatever website is easiest for people to get tickets to these things. We'll release this in the next couple of days as well, so you may still have time, everybody.
Where did you say your next gig?
Thank you.
Where did you say your next gig was?
My next one is next Wednesday. That one's actually free. It's just in like a little cocktail bar. That one's gonna be more like chill stuff. Like I also, on top of like horror stuff, I do like, I'm a big like Lana Del Rey fan. I'm a big Elvis fan, so that I'll do like sort of chill like underground cocktail bars as well. So like every niche you can think of, I'll just be in.
Gotta cover every angle.
Yeah,
you gotta do it.
Yeah.
That's awesome, though. Awesome
what we really want to do, Ben, is see if we can't broker something to put together. Actually, if we can try and encourage you to have a gig sort of around August bank holiday time when we're definitely in town for Fright Fest.
Yeah.
We'll have cinema full of people we can bring.
Yeah, you go.
We'll spend all day harassing people, get them in.
I'll just put it on my radar now. I'll pop it in my calendar. August. I don't have anything booked for August yet, so there we go.
Right.
Let's
have a few words, Ben.
Get in the diary. Let's will it into existence. Okay, right. So before we get started on the film of the week, which, of course, if you've clicked on this episode, you know, is Nosferatu. Nosferatu himself, old big mustachioed, skinny-legged. What kind of hat has he got on? Lovely, fluffy.
I don't even know what to call it, really.
Yeah,
what
literally like the most terrifying man ever. Like who's ever like gone into someone's house as a house guest. Even if you're doing like brokering some sort of like estate agent deal, he's terrifying. He's absolutely terrifying.
Second my horse went missing, I'd have been like, oh well, can't make it.
See you later. Yeah. Okay, a couple of bits of horror news before we get onto that. Let's talk about Demi Moore's Golden Globes win for The Substance, because that is awesome. Not just for Demi Moore, not just for Demi Moore winning. Like I'm pretty sure that's the first time she's won a major.
She said in her acceptance speech that she's been acting for this many years, and this is the first award.
I think.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And now people are saying it's put her like in the favorite spot to win the Oscar.
I think like one or the other, right?
I haven't seen Anora, but everyone was going on about missing in Anora. Apparently
Emilia Perez,
The
Brutalist. I've not seen any of those yet.
I haven't seen that one
yet. But considering who she was up against, like everyone on the list, like worthy winner. But I don't know, like you almost look at the list and you think, because historically things like horror and genre cinema is kind of a little bit left at the wayside in these big kind of award ceremonies, it was kind of surprising that it ended up going to her. I mean, I would have 100% picked her, not because I haven't seen some of the other performances. Of course, the categories are a bit all over the place because it's like for musical/comedy.
Yeah, definitely wasn't a comedy. I mean, I don't know.
It's funny in parts, right? But I guess in the absence of there being a horror or just genre cinema category, if you're putting people up for awards, you put them in for what you can get away with. And you see other things as well, don't you? Like in the general awards, things like The Bear, you know, being nominated for a comedy because, and it's a drama, right? But it's you know, there are ways, if you can get away with it, and if you can, by some twist of logic, say it counts in this category, then it does increase your odds of getting something, particularly if there are real strong favorites in the general category that you just don't think you're going to be able to overcome. I mean, I would absolutely give her that for, you know, no subdivision needed. It should just be the Best Actor award.
She was great. Like she was. I took so long to watch The Substance because I actually have a really severe needle phobia. So it took me so long to watch it because everyone was like, it's really intense with the needles. So I was like, okay, this is going to be a lot. But everyone was going on about it so much that I was like, I can't not watch this film. Like I have to watch it. And then when I did, I was just like, I think I waited till it was streaming on, was it Mubi? and you could just get a trial. So I was like, I'm in the comfort of my own home. I can watch it if I need to pause it. It's okay. But yeah, I did find parts of it really hard to watch, but it was amazing. I was like, this is a brilliant horror film. Like, and she was great, and Margaret Qualley was great too. They were both really good. Like, I thought the whole movie was amazing. Like, it was shocking in its own way, but it was a very good film.
That would be interesting. If you're putting, if you were just nominating this one, who would you put up for lead and supporting in that? Because they're one of the
Demi
same,
Moore's
really.
the main, I guess, but pretty much, yeah. I think Demi Moore opened it up and kind of like was the one that like led it, I guess. But I get what you mean. They're both like the same person, effectively.
Yeah.
So it's quite difficult to choose. They were both really good. They were both very, very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was great.
Absolutely. But yeah, super exciting. Obviously, last week we did our top 10 of 2024. Me and Andy both picked The Substance as number 1. So
interesting.
It's good to just be. It's good to just see her winning awards for that, because she's obviously had a great career anyway. So it's always good when someone gets their plaudits finally. Even if you feel like they should have had it before. Yeah, we'll see how this affects Oscar season then. And you know what? The Oscars, historically, they've always had a little dabble with horror, haven't they? They love The Exorcist, Silence of the Lambs, I guess maybe not 100% a horror, but kind of
Misery one as well.
Misery, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Come on, Oscars, just pull your finger out.
Give a chance.
Remember that these films, people like them, people love them, people love the performances. They've often got like some of the most dynamic performances of all, haven't they?
People have some of the best stuff to work with. I mean, the fact that Toni Collette didn't get something for Hereditary.
I said that today in my video. It angers me. It's like one of the best horror performances I've ever seen in my entire life, and it's like it's crazy that she didn't even get nominated. Like oh my god, it's ridiculous. And Florence Pugh in Midsommar as well.
Yeah,
I thought she was amazing in Midsommar. So
any other performances in the last 12 months that have really blown you away?
Heretic, Hugh Grant, but he was insane.
Yeah.
I was scared of him.
Jar Jar Binks impression.
Oh my god, he was just mad. I didn't know what to do. I was I went to the cinema to see it, and that was my second film of the year. I was obsessed with Heretic. I know it's more of a psychological thriller than a horror film, but I was so amazed by it, everything about it, and I just couldn't stop talking about it. I told everyone, I said, no matter what you believe in or how you feel, when you watch this film, you won't know what to do. You'll come out being like, what? It's just, he cornered you. I was in the cinema and I was just looking around. I felt like he was there with me, just talking. I don't know. I thought he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
He was
and until he goes really off the rails, he's fairly nice most
of the
time.
That's the scary part.
Just invite him round yours. Don't go into the...
I'll just go and get the wife next door. If you say that again, Hugh Grant, we know she doesn't exist, for God's sake.
There's so many theories with it, though. That's another podcast for another day. Heretic.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing.
Heretic was great. Other performances I'd call out. I'm not sure if you've seen this yet, Ashley. Willa Fitzgerald in Strange Darling is incredible.
I loved Strange Darling. Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was such a good film. I watched it about a month ago, I think. And yeah, more people aren't talking about it. They should be. It's a really, really good movie. It was so unpredictable, and I won't spoil it, obviously, but just everything that you didn't expect to happen did. And I thought it was really, really good. Yeah.
The one that kind of stuck with me, and the one that I keep going back to, is Naomi Scott in
Smile.
Just because
she was great.
She was good.
Because I've mentioned on the show, but I didn't really like the first film, so
I liked the first one better than the second
did?
film.
Oh,
yeah,
wow,
I did. Yeah, I thought the second one was a really good film, and I liked it. And I watched the first one at home years ago, and then I watched the second one in the cinema, so it was more effective. And I liked it, but I thought the acting was better, and overall it was good. But I don't know. I just thought the first one was a bit scarier, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it was a bit creepier.
Yeah, I think what made the second one work for me more was that central performance. I feel like I just felt like I'm more understanding of the plight of what was happening, whereas in the first one I just didn't think I really cared, if that makes sense.
Fair enough. Yeah, it was a weird film. I don't think when it first came out it was just had some strange marketing, and I was like, this is strange.
Yeah, marketing. That should win awards. Best marketing campaign. I'd give them that.
Yeah, but I feel like they should have had more. The marketing almost was a bit creepier than the actual film. They should have had more random people. I know they did have people just standing around smiling, but I mean just and
sports places and very weird places. Yeah.
Should have people like a proper campaign of getting people in the back of the news and stuff like that.
Yeah.
standing there like creepy in the background. I think I have to say before we continue because I can't let this go. David Howard Thornton, Terrifier 3.
Yeah.
Oh
His
yeah.
acting is ridiculous. Like whether you love the film or not, it's totally subjective. I'm a huge fan of Terrifier, but if you don't like it, it's totally fair. But his acting is like ridiculous, like madness.
I think
I think
love
he's even
him.
better at acting because we've seen him. You know, when you see him speak, he's such a nice man. Doesn't
So
seem like he'd kill
nice.
anybody.
Yeah, it's so nice.
It doesn't seem like he'd kill anyone, this fella. I guess
Such a nice
similar
guy.
to Bill Skarsgård in this, and I know, of course,
Yeah.
there's a lot of makeup and prosthetics and stuff, but I guess that David Howard Thornton and Bill Skarsgård have got that similar, where they do just completely disappear into this role, where you're
Yeah.
almost like, I cannot,
Lose him.
even eyes, looking at old Orlok's eyes, I'm like, I can't see old Billy in there at all.
I couldn't. I think at one point I was watching it and I was just staring because I think it takes like, oh, I'll have to go into it more, but it takes so long to reveal him that when I did kind of see him, I was like, I would never have known that was him. Like even
Yeah.
everything, I would never have had a clue. But
Yeah.
I guess with Pennywise, like you kind of do a bit more with the eyes, but anything else
Pennywise,
still
the eyes.
great. Yeah.
Pennywise,
Now I can
eyes
see it.
and
Now I've got the
lips.
picture behind you, Ben. Now now I really think about it, and we're not in motion. I can see a Pennywise eyes about him.
Ah,
Yeah, I see what you mean. But I
Mm,
think eyes and lips when he's Pennywise is like what sort of sets
yeah.
him apart. Whereas this, like, obviously lips are under a stash
Yeah.
and eyes are
Hidden.
eyes are all milky
Mm.
most of the time. Okay, so that was talking about Golden Globes. Another performance that is making waves is Nicole Kidman in that movie Baby Girl at the moment. Well, apparently recently she said she has fond memories of the 2001 film The Other, and she'd love to revisit the character Grace Stewart. Would
Oh, it's a great
anybody
movie.
like? Yeah, exactly. Would anybody
Mm.
like The Other's sequel?
I don't think it should be making a sequel. I think she's amazing, but I just think it's so good on its own. There's just no need for a second film.
Just do another ghost story, and also spoilers
Yeah.
for a quite old film. The other, she's pretty ghost, isn't she?
Massive
So what is
We've done an episode years ago.
is the potential sequel just her trying to like mill about and come to terms with the fact that she's a ghost and just trying to live her life, do
We
regular
know what you like, Ben.
regular mum things.
A lovely prequel.
I'd love to see a lovely prequel. Well, we gotta see what happens, don't we? We see everything that happens.
Just
eventually.
before her husband goes up, and at the end he goes, "There's a war, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to go. Don't die of cholera while I'm away, will you? Try my best."
Is that how she died? Cholera?
I don't know. I think it's been a while.
I'd
I
love
think
it.
she gets like with a pillow or something. I remember.
Yeah,
something
doesn't
with
she
a pillow.
suffocate?
Yeah,
the
yeah,
kids she suffocates.
It's very
them,
disturbing,
and
but it's a
then
good film.
cops
It is
of
a
it, the
good
old
film.
consumption.
It was a good film.
Yeah, really good.
And the only other piece of news I wanted to bring up just before we jump into Nosferatu is it's only gone and made $100 million at the box office. $100 million smash hit. Film came out on Christmas Day as well in the US, of course. Yeah, it has absolutely crushed it. So it's kind of, I mean, I'm not entirely surprised. I think Robert Eggers is definitely at a point where he's one of those directorial heavyweights who, even his name alone, gets people to go and watch movies, which is good, which is exciting.
Yeah, full cinema when I went. I don't know about you two. Full cinema when I went. I don't know about
it was
you.
pretty full.
I went to a private screening, not on my own. There was about 20 or 30 people there, and I was just, it was amazing. But Will get into that later. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Lots to talk about. Okay, before we do, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So we will talk about what we've been watching for the last 7 days or so. If you do a TikTok every day, then Ashley, does that mean you watch it? You tend to watch film every day?
There's times at the weekend where I watch like 3 or 4 movies in one day because I do. So I work for Sony, so I do like I actually work in podcasting, so I do like front of house stuff and I do some sound engineering for some shows. But when I'm at home, like we've kind of got like our little home life where like we have our time together, and then like he'll have his own hobbies, also the gaming stuff because of the chair. He has his own time on his own, and I have my horror time on my own. So it works out really well.
Yeah.
So that's when I can watch my films.
I think that's
I have slightly dragged him in. We watched Dracula last night. Bram Stoker's Dracula last night, and he liked it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd seen it like years ago, but I couldn't really remember it. But I thought because we're going to do this, it'd be really good for me to watch that. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
So
get some time to roll these numbers over. Maybe when we've talked in detail about Nosferatu, maybe we'll finish up by talking about what our favorite vampire movies are.
Oh, Well, no, that one is one that I saw, but yeah, I can't say that I do them every day, but sometimes some of the ones that I'll upload will be films I've watched a little while ago that I feel like people should just watch because I'm like,
Mm.
this is a film that I saw a while ago that I feel like no one talks about, and it's a really good movie. So I don't always post the thing as soon as I watch it, but
Yeah.
recently I've watched a lot.
Mm.
What did I want to say in 7 days. I watched The Love Witch, which I thought was really, really good. I'd never seen
Yes.
that before. So yeah, that's sort of like a sort of love letter to like the 1960s, and it's very beautiful. It was a bit too long, if I'm honest. I thought it was a lovely film, but it was a little bit too long. There was a part in the middle that I was like, okay, this is visually lovely, but it probably could be cut out, and it wouldn't
Mhm.
make a massive difference to me. But otherwise, overall, I thought it was a really nice film and a really good movie. I really liked that movie.
I mean, as
And
long as you're not talking about their glorious trip to the Renaissance fair, then
do you know what? That part was great, but it just kind of went on for a while. I was like, "What's happening?" There was a
When they
lot
get
going
dressed up for
on.
the wedding, we're just going to tease Ben until he
Yeah,
gets on and sees
yeah.
it.
I won't run it too much. It's a bit of a strange one, but you'll see why. Like it's a good film. It's a good film. It's quite long, but I think those kind of movies were quite long back then, and I think it is literally a letter to that time. It's supposed to
Mhm.
be really authentic, and she's really good, the girl. Trying to think who plays the girl now. What's her name? Let me look that up. Sorry, I should research this first.
While you're looking up the name, I will tell you
Yeah.
that if I was going to live in the world of the Love Witch, I wouldn't want to get Love Witched, obviously, but
Oh.
I would go to that lovely restaurant that she goes to with her neighbor and have some of those cakes.
It looks so good.
Good
Um,
cakes.
Samantha Robinson's the girl. Like she was great. Yeah, I really liked her. It gave very like I don't know, sort of old school like Elvira, sort of like Lana Del Rey, like really beautiful women and
Yeah,
just like
definitely.
witch-like and fun, and it was good. I like
And
that
then
one.
almost like, obviously it's fantasy versus sci-fi, but a big sort
Mm.
of Barbarella energy about it. If you went the
Mm.
same, like a
Yeah,
Jane Fonda's, which is
yeah.
also getting a remake as well, right? No, it's not exactly our wheelhouse because
Mm.
it's not too scary, but
Yeah, but could
yeah,
be good though,
getting a remake with
depending.
Sydney Sweeney, right?
Oh,
Pretty
that would make
cool.
sense. I can see that.
For
I can see
real.
that. Yeah, and she's
Yeah.
a good actress.
Yeah, she's
Like
good.
she's been in a couple of good things.
I
So
really
like,
liked Immaculate last year. It was just
yeah,
outside of my top 10.
I thought Immaculate was pretty good.
Mm.
The ending was like amazing. I was
Yeah,
like, wow.
favorite part. I was
Yeah,
like,
that was like,
yes.
like I just felt it like in my soul. I was like, wow,
I was
that
like,
was a good bit.
finally, some sensible choices.
Yeah, I was like, jeez.
Thank God for that.
I was sorry, go on.
Anything
Go ahead.
else, Ashley? Anything else?
Oh, yeah. Oh God, there's so many. I'm trying to like think of the ones that
It-
best. Oh, The Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Ah, yes.
I loved it so much. Like, and I can completely appreciate if people didn't love it because it's bizarre. Like, it's a
Yep.
very, very strange film. But everyone that was like, I'd watched The Witch, I'd watched a lot of Robert Eggers, but I never watched The Lighthouse. And everyone was like, you have to watch The Lighthouse. Like, you should watch it. And yeah, when I first put it on, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have a clue what was going on. I was like, well, what's happening? It's like these two guys just chatting away. But as it went on, it just got so like intense, and I was so invested in it. Have you both seen it? I don't want to ruin
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was gonna
yeah,
say,
yeah.
did you
Yeah,
like it?
Yeah.
Nah.
I liked
did.
it. I think comparing it to Robert Eggers' other films, I would say it's probably my least favorite
Okay.
of them.
Yeah.
I feel like with The Witch, he kind of like perfected the
Mhm.
formula, the Eggers formula, and then The
Mm.
Lighthouse felt like such a departure from something that he'd already. I know one film perfected. I know it sounds a bit silly, but it felt like such a departure. It was almost like I find it difficult to really come to terms with it. Again, sounds silly.
Okay. Fair
Northman.
enough.
I felt like that the same with the Northman as well. Like I did like the Northman, but again, it felt like okay, but I kind of want this director to. I kind of understand his voice, but these films are kind of like not. And I feel like that's why Nosferatu kind of brought it back home for me. But yeah,
Yeah.
amazing films, like stylistically, absolutely amazing. Performance wise, like ridiculous. Dialogue is always great.
Oh,
I think
acting
that's
was
what I'll always
amazing.
applaud it for as
Yeah.
well, right? I think the visual language that Eggers uses in his films, from this to The Lighthouse to everything, you cannot deny whether you get on board with what the story is. And I can completely agree. Are things like The Lighthouse a little bit too opaque for your general watcher? I could have watched The Lighthouse and enjoyed it, and then if I go to my regular work or talk to my wife the next day, could I recommend any of them watch it and think they'll like it? No, they'll never take a recommendation from me again.
No, it's a weird one. It's a weird one. But I just
Yeah.
thought, like, acting wise, it was like, and just even like the final scene, I was just in shock. I was like, oh my God, like, this is amazing. Like,
Yeah.
but everyone that had recommended that I watch it, like, they were like, it's the best Eggers film you'll ever watch. Like, every person said the same, which is interesting because I can understand why people wouldn't feel like that. Like you've just said, because it is really divisive. Like, it's a bit of a weird
I
one.
would like to see
but
it again because I've only seen it once. So
very good.
I feel like I should probably see it again.
I liked it, but I can appreciate if people didn't. I also watched something for the first time the other day that's pretty popular, that Autopsy of Jane Doe. I'd never watched that before.
Oh yes.
That was a
yeah.
good one. I like
Yeah.
that. That was good. Yeah, that was a good one because
That
it
is a
kept
good one.
popping up for years. I just never watched it, and that was pretty good.
Yeah, I like
yeah.
that. I like the vibes of that one.
Yeah.
Again, another one I've only seen once. So
Same. That was the
little-
first time I'd watched it.
yeah, a little while ago as well.
I liked it
so-
better the second time. I think the first time I watched Autopsy of Jane Doe, I wasn't really paying attention. You know, it was one of those times it was like a background watch, and I watched it and I was
Yeah.
like, fine. Like, and then
Yeah.
I watched it a second. I was like, actually, this is really good. It's quite intense, right? Very
Yeah.
like it's really, really tense at moments. But when you know there isn't anything physically on screen to menace you.
Oh yeah.
But it's the atmosphere on that one is really thick.
I know it sounds obvious, but like Morgue's absolutely terrifying. I think it's because
Yeah.
it's because of like playing Resident Evil 2 growing up when you wander into a morgue going, just get a key off this dead body. Just get a key off this dead body. I don't want to.
Casual.
Well, he emptied his pockets when they took him down there.
I don't want to. Do I have to? No.
Creepy.
So yeah, that was why it was definitely a good one for me, a winner.
I liked it, yeah.
Anything you want to mention, Andy? Anything you've seen?
A couple. I finally caught up on Revenge.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
Nice.
That's on my list. I haven't seen it yet.
It's really good. I loved it.
I heard
thought
it's
it
good,
was,
yeah.
It is.
I thought
good.
it was brilliant. Like you can see the DNA that went into the substance later. Really, really strong action. Like Carly Fajer is her name, right? I think she has a real talent in like the visuals, which simultaneously are gross and you don't want to see, but then you can't look away from at the same time. And they're done in such a beautiful way, combined with like beautiful landscapes. The color is always really vibrant. Yeah, it's a good, and you know, your mileage on like assault revenge films may vary. I know that's not everyone's cup of tea. It's done really, really well.
It's done well, and you know, with characters like that, where you cannot wait to see them get their comeuppance. It's so good. It's so good.
I've heard good things about it. I've heard good things.
Yes, good.
Yeah. And then the other things I watched another film from last year, H.P. Lovecraft's The Old Ones, that goes into some sort of eldritch lore, fairly like a low budget affair. But it was some fun. Like not going to be the biggest recommendation, but if you particularly like your Lovecraft adaptations and you want to see those creatures from the dark depths of the ocean coming out, then that's there. A little bit tongue in cheek, a little bit B movie-ish, but you know, had some good fun.
Kelly
with that.
Maroney in it from various famous horror films. Who am I thinking? Not in a Comet. That's the one I'm thinking of.
There she is.
Yeah, she's in it.
And of course, Chopping Mall.
Yeah, Chopping Mall as well. There's a
There you go.
novelization of Chopping Mall out as well, Andy. Are you
Is
up
there?
for that? There is from a psychopocalypse.
Gonna have to pick that up. You've
Get
been
it.
on your novelizations recently, and then I think you did the same, Ben. Right? I had in preparation for Nosferatu, had a previous Nosferatu double bill. I watched the 1922 original, which is available on like everyone listening now. If you go to the Nosferatu Wikipedia page, it's just on there. You can just watch it.
It's just there chilling.
Really?
It's just there chilling. Not
You can
even...
just watch it. Your sound is not broken. It is completely silent. So either have to watch it in complete silence or have someone play the piano next to you. And then I watched the 1979 Nosferatu the Vampire.
Yeah.
As well.
I did the same. So, I mean, Isabella Gianni, obviously from Possession,
She's
is
so
great
good.
in that. She has probably got like the most expressive face in the history of the human race. Just like she doesn't even have to do much. You kind of just understand it. You go, yeah, she's terrible.
I wasn't around in 1979, but I am not entirely convinced she wasn't just always like a ghost the whole time.
Yeah, I don't reckon she's ever existed. She's always been between the planes of reality, isn't she?
Yeah, you'll show someone this film that what are you talking about? There's no woman on the screen.
There is something kind of odd and like uncanny about this film, though, isn't there? Like it's very weird. Have you seen this one, Ashley? The
I haven't
1979
seen that one. No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's
No.
weird. Like there's a lot of weird.
Mm.
The like main performances, Klaus Kinski and Isabel Adjani, and who plays Jonathan Harker? Bruno Ganz. Oh, Bruno Ganz, as in Adolf Hitler from Downfall. Did you realize that, Andy?
I didn't recognize him
Yeah,
as
Adolf Hitler from Downfall.
it's been two wrongins.
He's been too wrong. There was just there was something kind of odd about it. Like the supporting characters were mainly the odd ones, where it was almost felt like every supporting character had like just stumbled into this film. Like, what am I doing here? And someone would go, "Oh, you got to do this now," and they'd go, "What?"
And
It was just
and
so
story
strange.
wise, it's probably for the most part 90% of the story
Oh,
beats
yeah.
are the same as this version of Nosferatu.
Mm.
Which
But
is surprising.
tonally, it's very different, and it goes it does a little bit of its own thing towards some of the narrative like conclusions. It's really interesting. I'd recommend you watch it.
Okay, I have seen stills from it, but I've never actually seen it.
Yeah.
I
So,
really like the
uh,
Dracula performance overall. I think
Hmm.
we'll go into the nuance what it is with this one, but I think with this particular talent, there is quite a great deal of like sympathy and very different to the eroticism or the romance or whatever you want to call it that you maybe get from this movie. Like it is quite a sympathetic portrayal where he is just a real sad boy.
Yeah.
Because think about being immortal.
Aw.
All right, sometimes, but you know what it is as well? It's boring. It's dead
It's bloody
boring being
boring.
immortal, and you also get a bit lonely.
Yeah.
No.
So
And it-
you know, this is a very different take on that, and also the Renfield, a bit like the Renfield analog in this one, absolute joker.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised in a way that the Eggers version of Nosferatu was so similar to this one. I don't know, like I'm not saying I disliked it in any way, but I was surprised that maybe he didn't go in different directions with some of the beats of the film, or like maybe some of the plot points, maybe like changed them up a bit, but some of them are very, very similar. There's a couple of obviously added extras and a couple of bits where it's fairly different, but this version is very, very similar, and I guess it bridges the gap between the 1922 version and the 2024 version.
And lots in in all three versions, in fact. Two facts. There are cats that play major roles. I remember watching the 1922 Nosferatu, and I was like, that cat from over 100 years ago has no idea that you're just there playing with like a little ball. Like
Aw.
generations after your life, this cat, you're still on a film that someone can watch on
Look at that cat's
Wikipedia.
still alive now.
On Wikipedia.
Yeah, and there's cats that feature frequently in the 79 version, and by number, in all three of these movies, 99% of the cast are rats.
Oh my
So
god, there's
many
so many
rats.
rats.
Rats
so
for
many.
days in these films.
Tons of bloody rats.
They all get, oh, there's bloody rats everywhere. You'd be livid, wouldn't you?
Leave
If
the
your job
rats.
was cleaning up rats.
Raging. I've only got a couple of films to mention that I watched this week. Just trying to check off some from like last year as well. But I did actually watch The Coffee Table as well.
Oh my god, it's so good.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh my god. Oh, I don't
I
want to
mean-
spoil it, but it's so intense. Like, oh my god, it's
It is
Yeah.
so incredibly stressful and so unbelievably harrowing that
yeah.
I almost can't say that I enjoyed it, because the whole time
Yeah.
I was just like this.
Yeah.
Oh
it's
my
crazy.
God.
So I
And
guess you don't know what happens. I'm not going to say at all, but I guess you have no idea what happens if
I
you've not
guess
seen
I
it.
guess in Andy
Not
Andy
seen
Yeah,
it yet. I
no
will
idea.
catch
Right,
up with
I
it as
won't,
soon as I
but
can.
Yeah,
Andy,
you
if you have no
Yeah.
idea what happens, my God, go and watch it,
I
because
will. I'll go and
Oh,
watch it.
unfortunately
Mm.
I knew I didn't know exactly how it happened and what happened,
Yeah.
but like I knew I didn't know. So
So-
for me, even knowing, it still affected me in a way where I was like, I
Mm.
literally cannot believe that this is happening.
Right now,
Um,
going in blind, all I can think of is lots of people walking carelessly past a coffee table that's right at shin height.
No,
They
you
ain't
have
looking where they're going.
I think if you know
You have no
something, if you
idea.
know that there's going to be a really big event in this film, within the first 10, 15 minutes, I think you might start to be able to predict it. But still, go and watch it.
Oh, it's
Alright.
amazing.
Spanish, it's on Shudder.
Yeah.
It's mad.
Oh, such a good film.
The film I also watched Don't Move, the
Oh, yeah.
thriller on Netflix, directed by
Pretty good.
Adam Schindler and Brian Netter. I thought it was all right. Did you say you've seen
Yeah.
it? Seen
Pretty
it?
good film.
I thought it
It's
was
good
pretty
film.
good. I feel like there was a better film in there if the characters just didn't talk so much. Both characters, there's a victim and there's an antagonist. They just both, well, mainly one of them, just loved to chat your ear off. He did, and I was just like, if you spent more time doing than talking, this film would be far more interesting. There's a lot of that, but still pretty good. Like a pretty good, interesting concept for a thriller. If someone gets injected with a paralytic drug and their bodily functions start slowly turning off,
Trying to escape
as they're trying to
the time
escape
they've got left.
a killer. Yeah, so there was that. I thought it was pretty good. I also watched Last Straw, which was the final movie at Fright Fest Glasgow last year, which unfortunately we missed. This was all right. I feel like it was a tad generic and predictable. We spent a lot of time with the main character, which was good. As soon as the POV switched and started spending time with some other characters, I kind of switched off. I was nowhere near as interested in the film as I was with the main character. I feel like she had so much more going for her. We kind of go away for like a good 30, 45 minutes. And by the time we come back, my interest has been zapped out of me. So unfortunately, it didn't quite work for me. And the only other film that I saw was one that appeared on your top 10 list, Andy. I watched Humane.
Oh, what did you think?
Caitlin Cronenberg. Have you seen this, Ashley?
I haven't seen that one yet. No.
So
Humane. No, I've not seen that one.
We spoke about it a bit last week. Yeah, a very. Do you know what it reminded me of, Andy? It reminded me a bit of a Knives Out / Glass Onion situation.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. So essentially, there's like the world's gone to shit. There's this euthanasia program, and a family are basically arguing over who should potentially be the person to offer themselves up. That's right.
Okay.
It's really good. It's like I think a really good character piece. Very like in the now politically as well. And I think if this is her first feature, well, I think we're going to see a load of good stuff from Caitlin Cronenberg to come.
Yeah.
Is it like a murder mystery sort of thing in a way, like that sort of way?
Like the premise is it's just this family that are getting together because the dad has made a decision that they are going to volunteer for this euthanasia program because all the countries in the world, well, I don't know what everyone else is, but the US have committed that they will reduce their population by 20%. And it goes into all of the politics of it in the background. They go to their sort of family dramas. It's like really bottled and they're all trapped in this house together. And then things happen that make this decision not as simple as it might seem. And all of the dirty laundry starts coming out. And there's some really good character stuff. Yeah,
Also, Andy,
I remember stuff like in the news, and then it sort of snuck out, didn't it? It didn't come out with any great fanfare.
Emily Hampshire from the movie Mom, which we watched at Fright Fest.
Yeah.
And also like a really weird, like villainous turn from a particular character, just like doesn't quite seem like a villain for a bit, and then as time goes on, you're like, this person is an absolute bastard.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it was really sharply put together, really well written as well.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, lots for the recommendation list. Lots that you might want to make TikToks about, Ashley. You know,
there's a few on my list now.
Who knows?
There's so many more. I was like, we'll be here all week if I go.
We will.
So, yeah.
Let's go to Ashley's TikTok, have a look at what she's recommended, and watch those films immediately.
Thank you.
So yeah, the film of the week, which we've all seen, is Nosferatu. It's a 2024 American Gothic supernatural horror film written and directed by Robert Eggers, a remake of F.W. Murnau's 1922 silent film Nosferatu, which is itself inspired by Bram Stoker's Dracula. Not just inspired though, Andy, is it?
Yeah, the whole thing with Bram Stoker's Dracula, the book, is that the makers of the 1922 movie fancied making a Dracula film, but even hundreds of years before people were crawling people's writing with AI. They wanted to make a new film based on the Dracula story, but they wanted to change it just enough so as to not pay for the rights for it. And even at the time, there was a huge argument and debate with Bram Stoker's estate as to whether they had, whether it was legally permissible for what they'd done. And I believe in lots of countries it was deemed unsuitable and it was seized and it was got rid of, which actually made it a bit more of a cult film and more people sought it out. And obviously copies of it survive to this day, which is why you can now watch it any way you like. But yeah, it's a big hot topic at the time as to whether it was okay that the filmmakers had gone ahead and made the original Nosferatu.
What's this film then? It's about Count Orlok, not Count Dracula. Then no. Where's he live
the
again?
Same because he doesn't go to. He moves to Germany. Very
Germany,
completely different place.
He wants to move to Germany. He's got no interest in coming.
What's his enemy called?
There? He gets there in a
Dr.
ship.
Frank. Oh, like the son. It's not Van Helsing. Don't worry about it.
No, it's not Van Helsing. We'll list the characters in a second. Okay, so obviously it stars Bill Skarsgård as old Nosferatu, Count Orlok himself, Lily Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Emma Corrin, Ralph Ineson, and Willem Dafoe. It says in supporting roles, but I feel like Ralph Ineson and Willem Dafoe come more and more into this. It's almost like an ensemble cast, isn't it? Rather than a sort of big cast like that. Okay, so it's got 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes, 85% audience score, 74% critic score. Letterboxd, 3.9 out of 5. And some choice reviews from Letterboxd. Ella Kemp says, loved it, to be honest. Proper old school horror that's so handsomely built. Doesn't need to be self-aware or cynical to be scary. Lily Rose Depp is pretty amazing. 4.5 stars. Matt says, mind-blowingly exceptional. Eggers at his most tender, yet also his most evil. 5 stars. Anto says, Count Orlok is such a diva. 4 stars.
Diva.
And then Holly Amanda said, that's not Nosferatu, that's Waluigi. 4 stars.
I did note someone on Threads had said this week, obviously Nosferatu is, an exceptional movie. You're going to go in and have a great time. But if you go in there and even for a second think of Jim Carrey's Dr. Eggman, also at cinemas at the same time, you're going to have a very different experience. And I unfortunately did think that while I was watching the film. Who wore that mustache better?
Oh, no.
It got me. I was like, hang on, and he's wearing quite high-waisted trousers and a sort of a jacket thing. Oh no, they're the same guy.
I watched an interview of Robert Eggers, and he kind of went back to the folklore and tried to develop this character that looked like someone of that time would have looked from the local Romany peasantry or like the Carpathian Mountains, someone who might live there. And then also he was throwing shade at Twilight, and I thought, hang on a minute. You've literally cast Robert Pattinson in the Lighthouse, but he was going, yeah, since vampires became all twinkly and stuff, and I went, yeah. He was like, oh, vampires aren't scary anymore. But I don't know. I feel like there are always sexy vampires and there are always scary vampires, and I feel like this film kind of tries to combine both, but it's difficult to make something sexy when he's literally a walking corpse.
I think because he's Bill Skarsgård, though, that's why it's interesting. Because obviously, I've heard so many women say this, especially. They're like, it's fine because it's Bill Skarsgård. And I'm like, well.
Well, he's got loads of sores all over his body. Yeah. He sleeps with rats. Oh, yeah, it's Bill Skarsgård, isn't it? Yeah, he sleeps with rats. Who hasn't slept with a rat or two?
Yeah. Are you perfect? Come on.
And to be honest, it is there is a horny element to it. Similar, I guess, to Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is a pretty horny film anyway, with Gary Oldman. I think Gary Oldman he pulls it off pretty well because he does look good, with his steely gaze and his
little sunglasses.
Lovely suits.
I love the glasses and the top hat.
Sunglasses. Yeah. But essentially, this is the story of someone who got booty called and woken up
to
from
death.
got booty called and got woken up from a never-ending sleep from across the from across the ether, woke up and just answered it. Essentially, that's what he did, right?
In many ways, I mean, there's lots of ways, and we'll discuss, I think, lots of the readings of this film as we go. But in many ways, the Nosferatu story is a little bit like, Lily Rose Depp, an awkward teenager growing up in an isolated countryside. She made a friend on ICQ or MSN chat or MySpace, depending on your era, and they told each other they loved each other. And then later, he's got the means to travel. He rocks up at the house. You've moved on and got husband, and he goes,
That is a fantastic analogy, Andrew.
Your
I've
internet
not heard
boyfriend.
that one before.
Your internet boyfriend has come back and thinks he has certain rights.
Yeah.
We made a commitment.
Do you
Actually,
know what?
I've got the chat logs.
As someone who, of all the trash TV I enjoy, Catfish is one of them I enjoy. This is a story of Catfish. This is like people are like, get access to the internet at the age 14, 15, make a friend, and then, years and years later, they go, well, I'm still
Gets a
talking
bit serious. You've not got the emotional maturity. You're having nightmares about them all the time. You eventually move on and meet someone, forget all about them. Then he rocks up and tricks your husband into selling you away with a contract that you can't read. Not a very good solicitor.
Devastated. Right, okay. In terms of the cast, we've got Lily Rose Depp. Has anyone seen Lily Rose Depp in anything before? I know
She
she
was
was in that.
The Idol, but I
Yeah,
never
The
watched it. It had
Idol.
such weird reviews that I never watched it.
Oh,
but
what
it
was
had
The Weekend?
such... Yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
clips of it, but it's very strange. Like it got hyped up so much because like Eli Roth produced it, and Eli Roth is like
Yeah.
very hit and miss. But I personally do like quite a lot of his films, so I thought this would be really interesting and really dark. And then I saw clips from it, and I was like, oh, this is a bit of a weird one.
Is it like, is she supposed to be like, I mean, I genuinely don't know. Is she like a pop star?
I think so, yeah. To be honest, I'm not 100% because I haven't actually watched it, but I think
Yeah.
it is that sort of. It's just a bit sleazy, and I think the acting, maybe not on her part because she's very good, but on everyone else's wasn't that great. So I think it just downcasted it a little bit. But I don't know. She was amazing in this film. Like,
Oh,
so
yeah,
I've not seen her in many other things, but
She was
she's
great
really,
in this.
really
Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I get it's one of those casts though. So like for me, usually, so I didn't really know much about Lily Rose Depp. Nicholas Hoult, I tend to not like.
You're
him
his
and
enemy,
stuff.
aren't you, Ben?
Why?
No,
Why
I
do you not
thought-
like
I don't-
him?
I think it's just I could just see him as about a boy. What's his name? Little fella.
Oh, what Hugh Grant.
He has not grown up in my eyes. He still looks the same.
Then when he was in Skins.
Maybe.
Yeah, I can imagine with a little beanie hat on all the time.
That's why he's my enemy, because Skins was filmed in Bristol, and I was in college when
Inaccurate.
Skins was out as well, and everyone was always going, "Oh, come down here, Nicholas Holt's down here, this person's down here," and I was always like, "No."
I'm just
Anyway.
in college.
What I'm saying is, I quite liked him in this.
He was good. I liked
Yeah,
him.
Pretty
Yeah, I
good.
thought he was good. And it was meant to be Harry Styles as well. Harry Styles was originally
Yeah, I
cast,
heard that.
which is very
Harry Styles.
random.
And who else? Who was going to be cast in the
Anya
role?
Taylor-Joy, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can
she's
see that.
in.
Yeah.
I reckon Robert Eggers goes, who shall I cast in this? Well, we've got Willem Dafoe. We'll put him in there somewhere. Anya Taylor-Joy, not available.
Yeah.
Rubbish. What am I going to
Yeah.
do? Harry
She
Someone
is
Styles.
else with a
good.
triple-barreled name.
Harry Styles. What happened? Because he appeared at the end of like a Marvel film, didn't he? And then I don't know what happened.
Is it the end of the Eternals as Thanos' brother, no less?
He was in that thriller. That's another film I watched the other day, that Don't Worry,
Don't Worry,
Darling thriller.
Yes.
Yeah. He was okay. Like better than I thought he was gonna be, but nothing, like. But yeah, I don't know. I think image-wise, I can see where he'd be going there, like tall and like like I guess like that sort of attractiveness. But I think Nicholas Hoult looks that kind of like gothic style that I can see him more.
Yeah.
So I can see why they went with
And he
him.
can pull off like a period thing as well. Like he's really good in The Great, where he's the Russian Tsar.
Well, I haven't seen that.
I've only seen the first series of it, and he's like, it's like period stuff, and he's in The Favourite as well, isn't he? As like
The Favourite.
is it the Prime Minister?
Okay. We got Aaron Taylor-Johnson, old mustachious, old kick-ass himself.
I liked him in this.
I keep hearing really bad things about him in this film, and I don't understand because I thought he was okay.
Oh, what? Like he's
just everyone says he's really miscast, and I've just heard so many things of him saying, "Oh, he shouldn't be in the movie." Like he was one part I didn't like. Yeah, like he's fine. I didn't get it.
He's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I don't think it's not one of those characters where he has much to do. He has to be like
Yeah.
a vampire skeptic for a while. Then he has to kind of like go through terrible, terrible grief.
Just Padme it ultimately.
And then I thought he was gonna have a bit of a heroic turn in the end, but in the end he just went, just gonna pass away. Quietly
take a big breath out and just give up on life.
Yeah, he didn't have the best time. But I didn't think he was bad casted, and I've seen him in like older, like sort of even Victorian age things. I can see the look for him. I get it. And everyone's like, oh, he was just so drawn out and I just didn't like his acting. I've heard that from so many reviews, and
right.
I didn't really get that. I thought he was good.
I think he has the films that he is in can be hit or miss, or in your genre or not in your genre, you know what I mean? I know that Craven the Hunter, which is also in cinemas, I guess it's off already, that got an absolute pasting. I don't think he's meant to be bad in that, but I don't think it's meant to be very good.
Yeah, heard
whereas
bad
he
things.
he does pretty good stuff. I know Bullet Train people seem to be either hot or cold, and I quite liked
Bullet
it.
Train.
I didn't
liked him in
mind
Bullet
it.
Train.
Yeah, that was all right.
And I thought they were good in it as well. And I think with the core of the casting for a lot here as well, obviously he's from the right country to have the right accent. And he can obviously carry those very well. Whereas oddly enough, even Lily Rose Depp, I think she was excellent in the moments where there was physical stuff to do, or when there was, a very, very dramatic scene where you're shouting or screaming. But oddly enough, despite the fact there may be the least intense moments as an actor, I struggled more when she just had like a quiet bit of mundane talking to do, because then you can feel the accent's harder to maintain
so
when you're just having a chat.
She's American?
She's French.
Oh. Oh.
So Johnny Depp's, I think she's like French American.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought she was okay at the accent.
Didn't know that.
It's in those very, very quiet moments, and that's, I think, sometimes those are just some of the, when it's incidental language rather than it is the the big portrayal of something. I felt like that was where I lost it a tiny bit.
Willem Dafoe, Professor Albin Eberhard von Franz. Totally not eccentric man at all. No, he's a bit eccentric. He loves alchemy, mysticism, and the occult. So he's based on Van Helsing, right? A bit. Even though he doesn't do any like essential, I don't know, staking.
Yeah, he's legally distinct from Van
He's
Helsing.
legally distinct. Yeah, and he's got a lovely hat and a lovely. He likes cats. Just seems like mostly I would say a pretty nice man. I
thought he was great. I really liked Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
I feel like he's always great. I don't think I've ever seen him play a bad character, especially in his films.
He's one of those things, isn't he, that Willem Dafoe, has made a wonderful career. Lots of many wonderful actors like Denzel Washington, like other folks like that, like are very good at playing what I effectively imagine to be what they are. Go and be yourself if you were in the olden days in olden days Germany where you were into alchemy, but otherwise be about yourself. In this film, be yourself if you were a mad goblin bloke, but otherwise just be how you are.
A mad goblin bloke. His whole arc in this film is get to a point where which one are we on about here?
Willem Dafoe.
I started looking at the list and I
get to the point where I can steal this woman's cat.
Yeah, I was looking down the list and I looked at Herr Knock, who is basically Renfield.
Horatio Kane from CSI Miami.
wait, what?
In the opening bit where Nicholas Hoult goes and says, "You got a new job for me, Herr Knock?" and he goes, "Yeah, you might have to use a bit of blood for the job," and takes his sunglasses off. Then he puts them back on and says, "Oh, he's a little bit, you might get a job to sink your teeth into." It's like, oh, he's a vampire. I get it. Come on. I've already said yes. I'm taking the job.
Yeah, and obviously you've got Ralph Ineson and Emma Corrin as well. I think everyone was good. Everyone was at the top of their game. It was a great cast. Okay, so where do we begin? We'll do a deep dive on the plot. We'll cover as much as we can. So we start with Ellen, don't we? At nighttime, having a potential dream / sleepwalking thing, and then
having a chat with Nosferatu boyfriend as shadows in the curtains, and visually again. This is when we do get a little bit of color. As much as it's a low saturated color in the opening in the German city later, a completely black and white opening, right, sets that mood perfectly. and we see like the shadow of Nosferatu, even though he's not really there in the curtains.
It did make me think, was it black and white? You know, like how Sleepy Hollow is color graded? Because I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
it's really similar.
yeah, it's got that kind of like ice white.
Mm.
It just kind of looks like that, doesn't it? Yeah. So yeah, what happens? I mean, what does he say? He says something like, "What does he say?" What?
He's like, she's at the window. She wakes up and like he just gets Sal, and she's like, "Well, I'm Lily Rose Depp. I'm from this country. I'm this many years
ASL.
old." Yeah. And then
BRB, and then he goes off
Yeah.
out of the window.
What's the one you put in when your parents are behind you? So she can't read the messages. So they're having a chat. In reality, it's not ICQ chat. It is talking about their commitment to each other. It's like, oh, I am your destiny, and so on like this. And then she goes out. She wanders out into the luxurious, like, very well manicured gardens of the large manor house that she's living into, and then has like she makes a commitment. Are you going to be mine forever, are you? And she's like, oh, as long as there are no consequences to this, yes, I am. And then we get a little jump scare to begin with.
Oh my god, that jump scare. Oof.
Yeah. How did you feel about that? Because in my head, I went, that can't be him, surely. That's what I thought in my head when I first saw him.
Oh, and what, as in like when you saw what he looked like? Because I feel like you didn't really see him properly.
You didn't really see him properly, but I think you saw, I don't know, like part of me was like, that must have been some sort of vision. That can't really be what he looks like. But yeah, it was only a flash, wasn't it?
I think for me, like I was so focused on like when all the lights went out, like we went to the screening and there was only about 20 or 30 of us and all the lights went out and they were just like, the guy came to the front and he was like, we'll be at the back if you need anything. And it was the most ominous thing. And then it just went pure dark. And I was like, oh my God. And everyone was just a bit anxious, like, how scary is this going to be? And then when that jump scare happened, everyone was just so like, oh my God, like it was so intense that I was a bit like, was that him? Are we going to see him now? Are we going to? And I loved how like throughout the film you still couldn't see him properly. So at that point I wasn't really thinking, oh, that's what he does. That's not how I felt.
Yeah, because you know sometimes when films do this thing where like they won't show you how someone looks in a trailer and you're kind of like, oh, I can't wait to see what they look like. I wonder what they look like. And you know sometimes when films just show you the character from the word go, I always find that really unnerving where you're like, hang on a minute, this has been shrouded in secrecy, and then suddenly this character's right there in front of me. It's really
straight
weird.
on the screen. In fact, he's in the opening scene, sitting in a chair, saying, "Hi, it's me, Nosferatu." During the course of the film,
well, did you not?
I'll be doing some things which, by modern standards, are quite problematic. I'm presenting the story as were the values of the time. Please enjoy.
Did you find?
Back around.
Did you find yourself though, like in the really obviously there were really dark scenes in his castle, for example, when he was going through the paperwork, you could see him. But you couldn't see him, so you're just kind of like squinting, kind of like looking.
I love that.
To see if you can see around the edge of the screen to get a look at him.
See him. I feel like that was the point, though. I think that's what he was trying to do, was that he was like, he's here, but you could. I think his voice was the thing I was most surprised by. Like as soon as he started talking, I was like, oh my God, is that like his voice? So I was like, that's intense. And I was like, that must be computers, right? But it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just Bill Skarsgård.
The pressure on Bill Skarsgård to say, right, you're gonna have to do a scary voice. For this. Bearing in mind, Ralph Ineson is already in this film.
Yeah, exactly.
He has to have the exact opposite of honey and lemon in his mouth.
He spent some time with a vocal coach, didn't he? Trying to bring his voice down
really low.
Apparently an octave, but I feel like it's more than that.
It's so deep. Oh my God.
It's so deep. The fact that he can do that but still roll his R's, I feel like is an unbelievable talent.
They were so prominent as well, the R's. It was just like, oh, like, it just like hit you like the back of the head. Like I just didn't know I would never know that was him. That's what was most impressive to me. Is every time he spoke, I was like, I would never. If you said to me, who is this actor? Like he's the last person I would think that's who it was.
Yeah. I feel like I agree, yeah. Even to the point where I feel like throughout the film you do kind of forget. Because most of the time when there's an actor in prosthetics, I mean I'll talk about Colin Farrell in The Penguin, for example, another Golden Globe winner. He obviously looks nothing like Colin Farrell, but I do this a lot. Hold my hand up and see just his eyes, and I go, I can see him. There he is. But with this film, no way. I couldn't do that. I mean, there probably weren't enough clear shots for me to try and do that.
When it comes out on DVD or home video release, then you can do that.
Who do you think you are, Bill? Yeah, and I guess this opening scene was reminiscent of that sequence in Bram Stoker's Dracula where he's all hairy, old Dracula. Similar sort of setup in a similar little garden. So it appears that like Ellen initially is finding this encounter quite pleasurable, but then begins to like
Yeah, like
convulse.
really, really violent sort of convulsions, and we see sort of we see some further away, so we can see her thrashing around with apparently nobody on her a period of time, right?
Yeah, yeah. So he's invisible to the human eye. He's a shadow man. He is though, isn't he? He's like,
Or yeah, he's a shadow man, and maybe we can't see him now because he has disappeared, or maybe it's to imply that physically he hasn't reached her yet, but he can do some good imagining
yeah, he does some great
with his
imagining.
powers.
He can get right in your head. And then she awakes, and it's years later, isn't it? 'Cause I think it says years later. So
Yeah,
so this is the thing. She's been experiencing this for ages, but she has had a history of having similar events in her past, which she's managed to kind of like move past and bury simply because she's moved on and got married.
she's met Nicholas Hoult. Those cheekbones have sorted her right out.
Those cheekbones and sideburns, the cheekbones sideburns combination
Yeah,
has worked out. So it's 1838 in the town of Wisborg, Germany. He's a solicitor slash estate agent, and he's got a big old commission that he can come and take on. It turns up,
yeah,
first of all, turns up to work late, 15 minutes, tardy.
yeah. And she didn't keep him 15 minutes late when he was like, "No, I've really got to go." She
Yeah.
kept him maybe an extra 30 seconds. He was already running late. What are you going
It
to do?
is
Blame
anno-
the traffic in 1836? No.
It is annoying though when you have to leave the house and someone doesn't have to leave the house, isn't
Yeah.
it? Oh, see you later then. Stay in bed, will you? Why not?
Oh, I mean, cracks are already showing in that marriage, though, because bearing in mind they've only just got back from honeymoon, and he's like, letting the cat on the bed? I told you not to do that. Like, oh, come
Where
on.
did they go on their honeymoon? Did they say?
I don't
Blackpool,
think so.
Benidorm.
I'm sure.
They're living up in Benidorm. So yeah, essentially for financial security slash to to impress his boss, his employer, Herr Nock, he basically agrees to sell a place called Schloss Grunwald, which is like a decrepit old shitty house,
Yeah.
to the reclusive and eccentric Count Orlok. Oh yeah, what can we do? Should we fax the no, fax machines don't exist. Should we get the paperwork over to him?
Well, he
Nah,
thinks he's just going to. He thinks he's just going to come and he's going to show him around the houses. Oh no, we can't come look at the houses. He's already chosen one. In fact, all right then. So we send the paperwork over. No, you've got to go.
You've got to travel there. Did
do
they say
the
at one point
paperwork.
it takes 6 weeks to get there?
Yeah,
It's a long time.
and we're not putting anything on for you. You're literally going to ride your own horse there.
Or
Not even coaches here.
6 weeks on horseback. The saddle sore would be. Do you know what I mean?
It's a long time.
I mean, I'm not a historian, Ben. I've never claimed to be one, but there are trains by now, right?
Yeah, I guess there are trains. Yeah, 1838. Of course there are. What's he playing at? I'll tell you what, cheapskate. It's because Herr Knock's gone. Just take the train and claim it back on your expenses, and he's gone. Nah. What I'll do is I'll ride there, and then I'll claim
Claim the mileage.
claim the mileage, claim the saddle sore payment. Oh
Yeah.
God. Bloody hell. Yeah. Did anyone think at this point that Herr Knock was potentially a little bit dodgy? Had something dodgy going on?
Oh, I don't know. There weren't many clues.
Oh yeah, but I know when we see him nude upon a bloody
Before that,
pentagram.
all of those puns that indicate that he's a vampire.
Yeah, I guess so.
Literally, he couldn't be more obvious if he was like twiddling a mustache, like.
Maybe I'm just ignorant because I genuinely didn't.
You're just too trusting, Ben.
I was genuinely like, seems like a lovely bloke. What's that? 6 weeks? I'd love to do that. It'd
I
be a
was on
lovely.
board when he was saying everything was fortuitous. I was like, what a nice boss. He was like, oh, it's fortuitous that you're 15 minutes late, actually. And I was like, he's all right, actually. Those dickheads out in the lobby,
Oh yeah.
bloody job's worth. They're
Made
just
him wait.
jealous that you've got this job. And he's like, no, it's good that you're late, actually, because I was just sorting that. I was like, wicked. What a nice boss. And then 2 minutes later, he is like, well, you might have to shed a bit of blood to get in.
Is this is this pretty much the same as Dracula at this point? Is it the same?
It's similar.
Yeah, I'm guessing like
Yeah.
because in Dracula, I'm not sure whether this is the text or just other adaptations. The Renfield equivalent, Renfield or equivalent, is someone who was a solicitor or a lawyer who has been exposed to Dracula previously,
Yeah.
and then has been driven mad or obsessed with them as a result. I'm not sure if we see those interactions in some adaptations. You see who is Renfield go to the house first before. And I'm sorry, everybody. I'm going to use the names from this and Dracula almost interchangeably. Jonathan Harker goes there, and he is the second person to encounter him. But I guess in this adaptation, they've kind of combined the employers that send Harker out there and the Renfield character into one. But he's kind of made he's kind of in a correspondence relationship with him already. He's already getting his chicken guts and his magic symbols out on the floor and having sort of back and forth chats with him, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And are we to believe, for the reveal that we get shortly, is this actually to facilitate the transaction of buying the house? Or is this purely to get him out of the picture so he can steal his wife?
Yeah. I don't think he really cares about a house, does he? Maybe he's like, I want to steal your wife, but it would be nice to have somewhere to live after I've stolen your wife. So
yeah, I don't want to commute over
stone.
it every single time. I want to be able to cast my shadow dramatically over this massive town. And I think we get an implication later that he has kind of been isolated in his own country, and he talks about this a little bit later, how because the local population do keep, the superstitions that they have, and they have vampire hunters, and they have they have things that they are trying to ward him off, and they all stay in and they all try and protect themselves and keep him out of their camp with garlic and so on. Is he looking for the opportunity to go somewhere in the modern world where there are less protections against him versus they're all wise to it where he is? He's going to have to be lucky or get like a sacrifice rather than being able to just go out willy-nilly and plague up a load of people.
Yeah. Is that what are we supposed to think that, like, because he's so like decrepit and almost like decomposing, that he hasn't been, he hasn't been getting out
Maybe
and
he's being
about?
starved where he is because they're more careful. Who knows?
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay, so after, I'm assuming we fast track through about 6 weeks of travel because the next moment he just arrives at like a little town, doesn't he? A little village,
Like a
I guess.
camp. And the journey that he takes is incidentally, it's a moment of the film. I think it's some of the most beautiful stuff in the film, though. It's incredible. He's like riding across this scenery. I tell you what,
really
Ben, no TV aerials on the roofs and yellow lines at the side of the road like in the 70s version.
Yeah, we did notice that in the 1979 version.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I feel like I spotted a yellow line, like a yellow parking line, and that made me look for other stuff. And I think that's why I saw the TV aerials on the roofs and stuff.
Dracula's got a digital watch. He hasn't.
Have to see if I noticed that when I watch it.
Yeah, it's not like loads. It's just like it's a bit of a weird one. You know how I said it was a bit uncanny. Like it was just a bit odd. Like sometimes the interiors looked a bit weird as well. Like almost like, I don't know, if just panned across, there'd be like a TV in the corner or something. That didn't happen, obviously, but I feel like it was very believable if it did. I didn't mind it, to be fair. So yeah, what does he do? He arrives. I mean, I'll tell you what would put me on edge. Arriving in anywhere, new town, new village, and everyone just laughing at you.
Yeah.
Everyone just cracking up.
I think
Very
the
off-putting.
part when he arrived, is that not the part that was in the trailer when he was in the carriage part? Is that the part that was in the trailer? And it was just like the shot that when he was first traveling. And I think that's the bit that made everyone say like they want to see the movie because it reminded them of like Sweeney Todd and like Sleepy Hollow and stuff like that. And it's like so pretty, like
absolutely.
Really nice.
I think comparisons to those films, like I think people who appreciate this film probably wouldn't like those comparisons because they'd say, "Oh, Sweeney Todd," and a bit more.
Well, both slightly different. I just mean cinematography wise, like a lot.
No. I mean, I absolutely, completely agree with you. Like those are the points of reference for me that make the most sense. Yeah, absolutely. Like some of the visuals, some of the sort of like snowy landscapes, and yeah, we've talked about the cinematography and the color grading and everything. Yeah, absolutely. It made me feel like that.
But you are right. Like I would be put on edge. I would have given up and gone home. The second this guy comes and like first bit, like obviously I don't live in the 1830s, but I imagine there's a guy that's going to take your horse when you get to town. But then all those people mobbing you, I don't want that. All the kids running over to you and like, oh, what you doing? And then everyone's laughing at him, and then the guy's like, the chief comes out, and first he bollocks all the kids for laughing. Just stop laughing. And he goes, all right, can I stay here? No. And everyone tells you to go home. You'd be like, oh.
6 weeks of travel to be told to go.
Yeah, can you imagine that? There's got to be a travel lodge nearby. He'll find one.
Just forge the signature. Count, or he's done it. Just go away for 6 weeks and stay down the road.
Are you here to see Count Orlok? No. No? What could you be here for then? Just looking about, having a look about. That's all.
Do you want to buy this house? Lovely.
Okay.
And he has horrible nightmare when he's in the.
Nightmare, or maybe not nightmare.
Yeah, because he's got muddy shoes, hasn't he?
Is that what we're thinking?
That reminded me of Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
That really, I don't know if that was intentional, but probably not. But like, I know it's obviously two completely different time scales. But I was like, I've never thought about that before. And when I saw it, it reminded me of Pet Sematary, which I thought was pretty cool.
Well, Universal Monsters connection, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the man that takes them to Pet Sematary is a Frankenstein.
Yeah, that's why I thought. I was like, have I just been really like? Was that in the other? Like, was that in like Dracula? I feel like I didn't notice that before. That really like caught me off guard a little bit. But maybe it's just because I was looking into Pet Sematary a lot recently, and it just reminded me of it because I saw it on the day. But I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I think any kind of like what was it? Everyone gathered around with torchlights and sort of preparing to dig something up. Very reminiscent of
dig
Pet
up a
Sematary.
grave and then
I feel like we have
corpse, right, with a big pike.
We did skip through something though. One thing I did want to mention before Thomas did leave, Ellen became really fearful and said, "Oh no, I don't want you to go. I've got a terrible feeling about this." And she basically confesses that. Well, it's quite a big confession, isn't it? It's a confession where you go, "Oh, I don't know about that." So before their wedding, she dreamed that she married Death himself. There were only corpses in attendance, and she'd never been so happy.
Yeah, it was a very strange scene.
You remember what Thomas's reaction is to that?
He's like, "Oh, never mind, bye."
No, he goes, "Listen, I understand, but don't you ever say that to anyone ever again."
Oh, and of course, and she's staying with Aaron Taylor Johnson, who is he's like the dock owner, right? So he's his like successful friend. She's staying like friends of the family, staying with their family and their kids. They're expecting another baby.
The kids,
two very precocious kids.
I was really disappointed because there's a moment in the trailer where those kids are screaming, and I was hoping that in the film those kids were screaming at, I don't know, Nosferatu. But they were screaming at bedtime.
Oh yeah.
Someone went, "It's bedtime."
I mean, yeah, stuff definitely happens with the kids.
Yeah, exactly. They get. I was about to say
absolutely right by Nosferatu.
I was about to say they get their comeuppance, but they didn't do anything wrong.
No, they didn't.
That's Ben's impression. If you make the slightest bit of noise, I will hope you get slurped dry like a Capri Sun.
Horrible, isn't it? So yeah, Aaron Taylor Johnson's character is Friedrich Harding. His wife Anna. He is like a wealthy friend of Thomas's. He owns like the shipping yard, you said, didn't you?
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. He's kind of like very level-headed, very straight talking, kind of. Yeah, what's that? You got another baby on the way? Yes, fine. Don't worry about it. What's that? I'll look after your wife. Where are you gone? Of course I will, Thomas. No worries. How long are you going for? 6 weeks there, 6 weeks back.
6 weeks each way, plus whatever time it takes me to do the paperwork.
What are you doing? Going on a cruise? Are you Jane McDonald? Where are you going? 12 weeks. But yeah, Thomas pretty much just goes, "See you later, all the best." And yeah, this is when he arrives. He's shunned by the local peasantry for associating with Orlok. And yeah, what you just mentioned, the event that he witnesses is them impaling a vampire's corpse with an iron stake. What does he shout out?
Trying to think now.
Have it.
They
And then he goes like, and then
stab it
he
and
like
he goes,
says,
"Ah!"
"Excuse me," or he goes, "My God!" and everyone turns around.
It's one of those. I think no matter what happened, you'd have to keep quiet because it's kind of creepy. You wouldn't know what was going on. You wouldn't know if you were next. But he literally like shouts out something like, "No!"
And they all look at him, and then he wakes up with mud on his shoes.
Yeah.
Wakes up with mud on his shoes, and when he comes out, everyone's pissed off, and he goes, "Where's my horse?"
We've taken it.
We've
It's
taken
just a note that says, "Where's my horse?" and a note flutters down. We have taken your horse. Shit.
Wait, and then what is this now when he asks someone to take him there as well, or is that a little bit later? Yeah, he says, "Can you
I
take
think
me?
he does. Yeah.
Can you take me? Nah. Can I borrow one of your horses? No.
I've got any horses. What about that one? It's not a horse.
It's not. It's mine actually, and you can't have it.
Hang on, let me just check. No, I need all these.
Is there a bus that goes to Kent Orlock's thing? Yeah, there is, but it's once every 6 months. So,
Oh, but
and it was
and you
and it was yesterday.
and it was yesterday. Oh, for fuck's sake. He's like, "I'll walk then. Why not?" So
I
he
love how he
gets...
just straight lines it. He goes, "Right, there's a winding path. I'm just going to go straight up this hill."
Yeah. If there was a house in the way, he would have gone straight through it. Just like...
And again, beautiful, beautiful scenery here. I don't know where they filmed it. Do either of you guys know where
it was. I actually wrote some. Sorry, let me.
Good question.
It was in. I think it was Czech Republic.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just having a quick
Okay,
look on the thing, but I
okay,
think they
I
sound
got
about
you.
Prague and Czech Republic.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
like Gothic architecture. I mean, I know we're talking about the outdoor stuff, aren't we? But yeah, that makes sense.
I think it was. I'm just having a
Yeah.
quick. Yeah, Czech Republic.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, very nice.
Anything
Yeah.
Gothic, it seems like everyone either goes for Czech Republic or Glasgow, don't they? There's a lot of Batman stuff.
Two very different places.
Two very different places, exactly. They go.
I have a fun fact just to chuck myself in there.
Please do it.
One of my my song Kingdom that I wrote, the cover of it is a castle from Prague that I just edited to make it look really gothic and dark. I just took that picture.
Oh, is it that? I know there's lots of Gothic castles in Prague.
Yeah, it's
There's
the one in Prague. What was it called?
There's one very, very Gothic looking one, isn't there? Like the black one. Is that the one?
I think that's the one, yeah. But I basically darkened it to make because it was like a Michael Myers story. So I wanted to make it like really creepy and really dark. So
yeah.
everyone's like, "Where did you get that picture taken?" I was like, "Oh, it's just from my phone, but I made it look really spooky."
Yeah.
I'm just
That's
plugging
cool.
myself.
No, and then we had like the Dracula castle, in Romania was for sale a few years back, wasn't it?
That would be cool.
So apparently the
bit pricey.
exteriors of Orlok's castle were filmed at Hanadora Castle, also known as Corrin Castle, a
Hanadora.
Romanian castle located in Transylvania, and one of the largest medieval castles in Europe. What's more, it's the castle where Vlad Dracula was briefly imprisoned.
Oh,
A much
there you
nicer
go.
man than the fictional Vlad Dracula. Probably not, actually. No, not.
oh yeah,
No,
it does
Vlad the
say
Impaler. It's Vlad the
Romanian.
Impaler, isn't it?
Yeah, he killed loads of real people.
I was like, he's a nice bloke, this guy. He's fine. He's fine. He ain't done very... Yeah. Wow. And the castle scenes, I guess, inside, were Pernstein Castle in the Czech Republic, the same location that was used for Werner Herzog's Nosferatu the Vampire, Andy.
Nice.
Oh, there you go.
They took the TV aerial down because they went,
Well, you can CGI it out now, can't you?
you don't need Channel 5
Like
in there.
Henry Cavill's moustache.
Imagine trying to CGI out Nosferatu's moustache. Jesus.
Oh, there's no budget
Take
for it.
forever.
Big mustache.
I mean, we can't have him arrive at the castle without, I think, maybe one of the most spectacular scenes of the movie, like when Thomas reaches kind of that crossroads.
This is so dreamlike. I'm
Yeah.
like, this ain't real. Mad. You mean when the
carriage just rolls up on him and opens the door and summons him to the castle? Is it could have met me slightly closer than this? I've walked fucking miles.
You could have picked me up.
Got me at the end of the drive.
Yeah.
He's tired.
Yeah.
So the big scary horses like slow motion leap in front of him, which is scary as it is. gets in the carriage. The dogs are there as well at this point, right?
The dogs kind of chase them, don't they? Because this is like, we go back into old like vampire lore here. Like I think if you look at the original um book of Dracula, there is a coachman here that drives, and I think it's implied because in the early parts of it, because it's like an epistolary novel, like
Implied it's him, isn't it? Yeah.
like he implies that it's Dracula that drives the coach, and he prepares all the food, and he almost feels kind of sorry for him. So it's like, oh, it's this big rich guy who actually he's fallen on hard times, and he's trying to imply that he has servants, but
He's doing all
him.
the roles. You know what this is like again, Andy?
Nutty
It's
Professor?
Like Nutty Professor again. Nutty Professor the clumps. He's doing all the roles. He's working in the kitchen. He's driving the coach.
But we don't get this, of course. We never see a coach driver. I mean, do you think it's implied that there is no coach driver?
I don't think there is one.
Think it just goes on its own?
What do you think, Ashley?
So old school.
Yeah.
What year would that be?
It looked like it was just. It didn't look like there was a driver, and that's what made it feel really dreamlike. It almost made me feel like, has Thomas reached a point where he's just totally exhausted?
Yeah.
That this coach has just turned up and driven him there.
And it's driving. And of course, Dracula could be here because a traditional Dracula doesn't just turn into bats. He can turn into dogs or wolves or rats. Not a coach, not a transformer.
Is this Sleeping Beauty? Who turns into the? Oh yeah, big old pumpkin turns into a
Cinderella.
That's right. That's right. Get me old Disney princesses mixed up. Yeah, Dracula can turn into a coach like a transformer. He can do that. That's one of his powers.
I mean, I wouldn't. If such a transformer existed, I might. A Dracula that turns into a bat or a coach. I'd get that.
What kind of coach? National Express.
No, big megabus. So yeah, he arrives at the castle. Stunning like castle, right, that he goes into and is greeted by, and this is where we get some of the great work of the shadows and the darkness that come in here, where you're all watching, trying to get a glimpse of what he's going to look like. And I think Nicholas Hoult, for the performance here, he is visibly shaken by the appearance of this guy, right?
Yeah, he is sweaty in this, sweaty and terrified in these scenes, right?
It's because you don't really see him. This was what we were saying earlier. Like when I was seeing that scene, I was like, you still haven't seen what he fully looks like, but you're kind of like squinting your eyes, like, wait, that is him, right? And his voice is just so intense. But if you were just like traveling all those weeks and you didn't know what this man was going to be like, and that's what you show up to, I mean, I'd be pretty scared.
Yeah,
I'd be pretty terrified myself.
He makes no effort to appear any less menacing.
No.
Or impatient. You know, when you're having a conversation with someone and you just can't win because they just want, no matter what you say, they go, well, I've got an answer for that.
Yeah.
That's what he's like.
Or they're just going to really have that force of will where you're not, where they don't care what you want. They're going to have their way.
He teleports a few times, well, doesn't he?
He does. He teleports to by the fire. Just come sit by the fire. And there's that bit where, like, the camera never leaves Nicholas Hoult. But I think, especially in a cinema, you get Orlok's voice to your left at one point, and then it's implied that he's moved around. And there's a slight shifting of the light, just I guess, so it works when you're not in a surround sound environment. But listen to it at the cinema, where you actually hear his voice move from one side of the room to the other without there being the movement being shown.
The sound design is insane, and
that's amazing.
Yeah, and to think if that is his voice and there's no digital, it's not been altered digitally. That is, it's like rumbling in your chest. It's
so creepy. Like, because I remember, like, before they did Pennywise's voice, they were like, so I don't know if you ever saw Bill Skarsgård in Hemlock Grove when he played like he was like kind of like a vampire or something like that, but he's like quite young at the time, but like he was really creepy in that. And then when he said he was going to be Pennywise, like, because it's my favorite film of all time, my favorite horror film of all time, and when they said they were going to remake it, I was like, nope, absolutely not. And then when they said it was him, I was like, oh, okay. So when I heard him do Pennywise, I was like, I know he's gonna do Orlok so good. Like, I had like no doubt, but I didn't know he was gonna sound like that. I was like, that must be digital. It must be, but apparently it's not. Like, that's literally his voice. It's crazy.
So yeah, he did spend trained with an opera coach, so not just a voice coach, an opera coach, and he used to do exercise on set, which was like Mongolian throat singing.
Yeah, I heard that as well. There's really like deep, like the lowest vocals you can possibly get. Like it's what
Yeah.
he tried to do. So
Yeah.
I think he used to just go around the set just doing it. So people were like, "Ah, just leave him be." He's going around singing like.
Oh God.
It's got to be some of the great voices for horror, though. If you're going to have like a scary voice, who are your go-tos? I would say definitely
Tony Todd.
Skarsgård. If not before, then now.
Yeah.
Then you've got your Ralph Ineson, who is, like we said earlier, also in this movie. Tim Curry, you've conjured him, so now we have to say it. Tim Curry.
Yeah.
I was
he's
thinking
good.
Tony Todd, like obviously he did a lot.
Tony
Yeah,
Todd.
Candyman. Yeah, definitely.
I know primarily from a game rather, but Mike Patton does a great scary voice.
Oh, Mike Patton, absolutely. Hell yeah, he did all the Transformers noises, didn't he?
Did he? I know him mostly from doing the darkness in the video game adaptation of that, where I think because he has such a wide vocal range, the fact he can do from a very, very deep, like guttural growl to like almost screaming and quite high pitched. Mike Patton has got such a wicked voice. For
I saw him live at Faith No More at Download 2010, maybe something like that. And he was doing stuff like that to the point where I was like, he's got some sort of effects going on in his voice. And then after a while, I realized, no, he's doing that. It was nice.
Impressive. That's the impressive part. Is like if you're going to have someone to be Count Orlok, you want someone that is going to be a good actor. And then obviously, I haven't seen it. I'm yet to see it. I don't know if I want to see it, but I was told The Crow was horrific, which I didn't expect any less from. So it's almost like from here right up. I was like, just please redeem yourself for this. I was like, there's no way that someone like Eggers is going to pick someone that's not great to do this. So I had like every faith that he was going to be amazing. I was excited.
Didn't he say it was the moment he saw Bill Skarsgård as like human Pennywise in chapter 2 when he went
crazy.
He would be a good, which I kind of remember a little bit about. There was a lot of like, I can't even remember what. How does that fit into the story? I can't remember. Is it
the second one is very like the second one is basically when they're older, and then it shows him a little bit of when he's like human. But I think it's only like 1 or 2 scenes. But even in some of the audition processes, when you watch him when he did it like as himself, I think because he's like appears to come off as such a genuinely friendly, like nice Swedish man.
Yeah.
He seems really nice and down to earth, and then he just switches into this like crazy like 6'5" monster, like no matter what he does. Just like how does he do that? Like, and even with the kids as well, like if you watch back of like behind the scenes, that the kids were terrified of him. They were like, he's so intense, like, and then obviously in real life,
do that with his eyes as well.
Yeah, he can. talented man.
And then when you see him in, like, I think it plays to his strengths as well, because like when you see him in a film like Barbarian, you don't trust him the second, and he's such a nice man in that.
Yeah, I like that movie. He was apparently picked. I don't know if you've heard about this, but he was apparently picked for Nosferatu over 10 years ago. Wow. That's how much Eggers wanted him to play. Like he spoke about it in an interview. So he knew Alexander Skarsgård before because he was said about the Northman. That came out before, but he said he actually asked Bill before he even knew him to play Nosferatu. Wow. So that's
Bill, I know you're 6 years old and you probably haven't started your acting career yet. Fancy being Nosferatu?
Yeah.
When you grow, you must be this tall, but then you can be Nosferatu.
Yeah, like 10 years ago. So it probably would have been like 20 something, like really young. But he was just like, I want you to be my Nosferatu. He said it was in production for years, and I didn't know that. And I was like, that's amazing.
I feel like this film has kind of been on the table for so long. I've always heard, Eggers is going to make Nosferatu next. I don't know if I heard it like after The Witch or whether it's like a little bit later than that. But it does. One of those films that now it's real. It feels like, oh, okay, finally.
Yeah,
but
finally. He said about doing Labyrinth as well.
Yes, I did see that this week. Yeah,
which is very interesting. I just don't know how to feel about that because it's such a great film on its own. But I feel like I trust him, so I don't know what he would do with it.
I feel like I trust him, but again, it's like how will his style translate to something like that? Unless they're just going to do something completely different, where it's like I know it's a dark fantasy film anyway, but like super dark fantasy.
It'd be much darker if he was in charge.
Maybe get Harry Styles for that.
Harry Styles.
He's gone. I need a pop star.
I need a famous, like, iconic pop star that could do a bit of songs in there.
He could do. You never
Can you
know.
dance with a crystal? Can you bounce
Yeah.
the crystal?
Yeah. I think, I mean, look, we can negotiate on whether you can recast Bowie, but I'm not watching it if there's not Muppets in it.
I have to. It has to be slightly similar. It's one of those ones that's like totally different. But when they said they were remaking The Crow, I was like, absolutely not. Like, not like it's one of my favorite films. Like, I just can't.
The
like,
Crow.
but,
Is it? Have you? Have you?
I haven't seen it. I don't know if I should. Like, I've not heard good things.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I've heard bad things.
I think it's okay as a film. It's not okay as a Crow film, if that makes sense.
So, like, separate it from The Crow, it's okay.
Yeah, I know that's impossible to do.
Yeah.
But I feel like the more you can... I mean, I kind of watched The Crow, and then I watched that Boy Kills World as well.
I haven't seen that.
So it's kind of like... It was kind of like Bill Skarsgård doing action in both of those films. And, again, perfectly fine to watch, but I feel like something like this, or something when he's Pennywise, where, like, he's really getting into a character... is far more his wheelhouse. I feel like The Crow felt a bit generic. Overall.
I know. All I need to from the tone in which you said "okay." If you'd said "it's okay,"
it was like,
all right. But you said "it's okay."
He is absolutely ripped in that film. To the point, you know, when someone is like so ripped but massive, where you're just
he's like 6'5" or something, right? He's huge,
but he
like,
looks
and then he's
so,
like this.
He
like,
looks so wide in it. Like his shoulders is like his lats are like just insane. To the point where I'm like, when I saw his tiny legs, I know they're not really his legs, but
skipping leg day.
What's going on here? Yeah, that was pretty impressive.
I mean,
maybe I'll watch it one day. I have that whole fear of it being so horrendous that
it strikes me. It strikes me as being a great airplane movie. Like, right, I'm in the sky, I'm in a tube. There's nowhere else I can be. Now's the time.
I'm really scared of flying, so maybe it would be even worse experience.
Your horror would be maximized.
The next time you've got a 6-week long journey on horseback, get a little iPad set up, get the Kindle on, watch it.
There we go.
So where were we? So we're in the castle with a horrible blood-sucking vampire. He's trying to sell house to Count Dracula. That's right. Got estate agents once and for all. So they are, and they're signing this document, and he insists on doing it straight away, and then he takes him to his library, and again, Thomas is so terrified, and that basically Orlok runs rings around him, and he goes, "Right, I've done all the paperwork. Just sign here, right?"
Oh, yeah.
And he's like,
and it's in a language you don't understand as well. It's not me reading the terms and conditions for anything.
I mean, to be honest, what real estate company is letting the client write up the documents? Can you sign the ones I brought you? Or look,
he's mesmerizing everyone involved in the air.
Yeah.
He's going, if he was on Homes Under the Hammer with Dion Dublin at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, he'd be making deals left, right, and centre. He'd be mesmerising it. What's it called? What's it called when they do it?
Glamoring people.
Glamoring people. Basically, Jedi mind trick. He's doing that.
He's going, there are no more bids, actually.
But the fact that you signed something that you don't know, it's like me signing up to anything terms and conditions wise. What's that? You want to sign up for
the
this?
Apple terms and conditions?
Yeah,
Apple terms and conditions.
Agree.
It's 100
too much
pages.
effort.
Yeah.
100 pages
if
long.
I agree to this, will I have to continue reading all this stuff? No. In that case, agreed.
Agreed. There's a moment obviously where Thomas cuts his thumb on a bread knife. First of all, that bread knife is lethal anyway. If someone had passed me that to cut my bread with, I'd say, haven't you got something like a little serrated blade? Big old slices. Does he drink his blood? He does drink his blood, doesn't he?
Yeah, he slaps up his blood, doesn't he? I mean, to be honest, if I was knackered, I would have been cutting that bread. I've been chowing down. Love bread.
How do you feel about the chest sucking rather than like neck sucking in this film?
It's such a I don't want to skip to the end, but it gets more like interesting towards the end of the movie for different reasons, I guess, that you may look at it.
Again, going back to the sound design, the chomp into the chest is horrible.
it was horrible, but I think in a way it was like, I think for this part of it, it was so intense and really nasty. And then as it went on from like her point of view, it just was like awful, but totally different characteristic. So it's just like that's what was so good about it because I didn't expect that at all. And then when he did it to him, I was like, oh. And then later on, which we'll get to, it was just completely like no one really knew how to feel. It was
Yeah.
bizarre. But like, yeah, it was. I liked it because it was different and it was just like
Yeah.
not what I expected.
A good visual
Yeah.
choice, right? And I'd have to go back to the text to see, like, is it meant to be the chest in the book, or has the neck evolved over time because it means that you can do it without getting your actors all stripped off?
Let's have a look.
It's weird, isn't it? Also, obviously, there's a bit where he goes, "Oh, let's have a look at your locket. Oh, it's a lovely picture.
It's mine
Like,
now.
makes an eye like I recognise her. It's got got a little lock of hair in it, and he goes, "Right, see you later then. No, give me that back. That's mine. That's my locket. Give it back."
What's this?
No.
Mina 32. Well,
Mina 32. She's got My Chemical Romance lyrics as a username. I know her. She's definitely been using MSN
I was in her
Messenger.
top 6 for years. I don't know what she's doing with you, mate. I'll be keeping this locket. Thank you so much. Now, anyway, sign this paper. I'll give you this gold. No time to read it though. Please just sign it in this big box.
I'm
What's
just
this
looking
about?
at.
Oh,
Sorry, yes,
go
it
for
says
Found
that
it?
the
Have you found it?
things. Yeah, sorry, just having a look, and it says that in folklore back in the day, chest biting was the original way to
There we
kill
go.
someone.
So yeah,
Vampire.
you're right. He's gone and
Yeah.
done this original
Carmilla.
stuff.
Yeah, he really has gone back to
I'm
the
betting
first
that
one,
I'm
yeah.
betting that the next stuff is so you can do it without having to have all your actors getting their chests out.
Getting her chests out, yeah.
It's like Carmilla, back in the day, it's like 1872. So it's
There you
gone
go.
way back.
Ah,
Interesting.
yeah, that is interesting, definitely.
It's really far back.
Because like it is still got the DNA of a classic vampire tale, but there are all of these little details that make it feel, slightly different, slightly more unique. So what happens? So he signs a document. He keeps having more nightmares. That was an Orlok seduces him in Ellen's form, and
Yeah.
gives
And he
him the old...
says he's going to go home. This is that force of will thing as well. Where he goes, right, Count, I am off skis. I'm ever so tired. I'm going to go back home. And he goes, no, you're poorly, mate. Stay here. And he goes, don't want to be rude, but give my locket back and I want to go. And he's like,
Yeah.
no, you will listen to my
Don't you
advice.
say like you should never travel when you're poorly, especially 6 weeks on horseback? Can you imagine?
When you've got no horse.
Oh, when you've got no horse, sometimes the return journey is the worst, isn't it? You're dreading it so much. Can you imagine if
It
it
goes
was...
quicker though, because
it
you
was
know
6
when
weeks.
you recognise bits when you're almost home.
It's
Oh.
downhill. It's downhill, home. It's downhill. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what does he do?
Well, he gets up the next.
Oh,
Are we to
yeah.
assume it's been days or weeks?
I think it's a couple of days. I think it's a couple of days he's here. I don't
Because
think
he wakes up in the morning, more bites on his chest, still feeling poorly, because Orlok is basically having to go on him every night, right?
Mm.
So he like does a little run, does a lovely little run towards the door, realizes I probably can't leave, can't get out, and then he goes, "What about this side door?" and goes
The
down.
slipperiest, most deadly steps in the world.
Oh God, yeah.
If it had been me,
Found
Orlok
it.
would have got up that night and just found me dead at the bottom of those stairs and gone,
Broken neck.
This is not what I planned.
So yeah, goes to find Orlok sleeping in his coffin. Obviously, this coffin is what people are getting their popcorn buckets in the US, isn't it?
Oh, I really want one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know you can apparently buy a full-sized one of these as well?
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know what it's made of, but it was like $1,500, something like that.
Bizarre.
They do
So you
sell
could-
coffins, though. You can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do sell coffins as well, yeah, but this is next level. So what does he do? Takes the lid off, gets ready to...
Orlok's there. Thankfully, there was like a pickaxe that someone's left there.
Yeah, what's that about? Just lovely pickaxe. Like this...
Chekhov's at it again. I'll use
This
this.
is a video game. This is like if you're walking into an area and what's this weapon I've not seen before? It's a boss fight. Go and kill Count Orlok. But as he swings the pick, Orlok grabs it and stands up, full frontal,
Sleeps naked.
sleeps naked. I mean, some people do. Some people sleep with socks on as well. So who's to judge?
Yeah. I mean, what I don't see is any any clothes storage in his place. So was he just leaving his clothes on the floor?
Yeah, just in a big pile, just in the floor on the floor
if the camera had gone round the other side of that coffin, all of his clothes just bunched up on the floor.
Has anyone seen the picture of Nicholas Hoult with a framed prosthetic penis?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I see that everywhere. It just keeps popping up, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Popping up.
Just popping up everywhere.
So yeah, he didn't actually receive a fee for appearing in the film. He only received a prosthetic penis. He sleeps naked, covered in rats, and I'm assuming his dogs are nearby as well, right? They must be nearby because he runs out. And
maybe they keep his clothes off the floor all night.
It seems like they're there to protect him, but they do a pretty bad job of that because it takes Orlok. Is Orlok one of those people that always sleeps with one eye open, just in case that anyone tries to stab me in the night?
One eye open like a dragon, and then he blocks it, and then chases him up the stairs, and he does comedy. When he slams the door, he goes, "He won't find me here in my room."
Oh, I forgot. And then you'd hide under the bedclothes. Then you know that you're.
Orlok takes the time to get dressed, puts
Yeah.
fresh socks and pants and like a new cloak on, and then him and his dogs storm down to his yard, and he kind of uses his power to
make him
influence him to open the door.
Yeah. This is a shot. Was this in a trailer? I feel like this instance of seeing him like shrouded, and you didn't really see him, but you could see the dogs next to him. I feel like that was in the trailer, in one of the trailers at least. It's quite an effective shot, I think.
And we've gone from the whole bit where we reveal Orlok. We've gone from seeing very little of him, masked in shadow, to seeing everything.
Pretty much.
I've seen everything.
Yeah.
I've seen it all, mate. I'm not scared of you anymore because I've seen what you're packing down there. But let's be honest, it looks riddled.
Yeah. Nicholas Hoult should be able to give a speech in front of him now. Just imagine him naked. Not hard. I've seen it.
Oh, look, have you had an STI check recently? Because things are looking pretty
things looking pretty withered. I tell you what, just to be safe, do you want to get a wide spectrum antibiotic and see if that clears it up?
Just to be safe. Just take one every day, I would, if I was you. Won't work on him, will it? So yeah, Thomas does manage to. So he gets. I think Orlok feeds on him again, leaves him for dead. But the next morning, Thomas manages to get out the window. The wolves are trying to get him as well, aren't they?
The wolves are going to get him, and he goes, "Sucked in dogs. I've got the perfect plan to get away from him. I'm going to chuck myself out of this window."
Yeah.
Literally to oblivion outside. There is a big fall down into the river, but that river does lead to freedom. So if you aren't dashed to pieces on the rocks, that's how you're going to escape.
He's desperate and delusional at this point to just get out. And he must be very tired.
Yeah.
So
I guess that's how he gets away with it. A bit like when people who are drunk do terrible spills and don't hurt themselves because they're floppy. He just flops out the window.
Yeah.
Just limply makes his way to Greece or wherever he ends up.
The infinite stamina glitch when you're drunk. Just run all the way. But luckily, some Orthodox nuns find him washed up on the riverbank, taken to a nearby church, and so this is why he doesn't turn, isn't it?
Yeah. He doesn't turn into a vampire because we didn't die of having his blood sucked out, and he gets enough prayers in him to turn the tide.
Yeah, they do a lot of prayers on it. Because again, minor spoilers for Nosferatu the vampire, Thomas's character, or he is called Jonathan Harker in that, isn't he? Does turn, doesn't he? Does begin to turn. And he's a very different character, whereas we kind of feel sorry for Thomas, but Jonathan Harker in Nosferatu the vampire, he's kind of just a bit annoying, isn't he?
Yeah, he's an estate agent, isn't he?
He's a bloody estate agent. Exactly. So he gets nursed back to health, and they basically urge him, "You got to stay and recover." People are always telling him to stay, aren't they? Can I go home now, please?
There's a last bloke who told me to stay somewhere until I was better. Sucked all the blood out of me and set his dogs on me and locked me in a castle.
But we're a lovely
bunch
of nuns. But no, he just gets on his horse one day and he's off, isn't he?
He just sets the horse sat nav to home and then just sits and does nothing.
Go.
I love it how when he arrives home is when he decides to fall off the horse. 6
Oh,
bloody weeks.
exhausted.
He's got me beyond exhausted. It's ridiculous.
God, he didn't do most of the work. The horse got every right to fall over.
And meanwhile, I like how we skip over this completely. There's literally nothing in the film plot-wise that shows us how Orlok manages to get himself in a crate of grave dirt and on a boat. Does it? It skips over that completely.
Maybe some of the paperwork that he got Thomas to sign was like shipment consignments. Take these 6 boxes. He put the FedEx things, and then they would come to his house and the box has been left outside.
Yeah.
Could have signed anything, that guy. He didn't know what he was saying.
He would have signed it. He would have signed absolutely anything.
So he signed everything. So yeah, the boxes are shipped, and obviously, again, Dracula can turn himself into a dog. He can turn himself into rats. So in the book of the original book of Dracula, when the Demeter crashes on the docks, a dog is reported to have jumped off the boat and run away into the night, never to be seen again. And we're led to believe that is Dracula in a dog form escaping. But you could be rats, you could be anything. So all you have to do is get that stuff there.
Oh wait, he turns into rats in Bram Stoker's Dracula as well.
Yeah, it turns to a big old pile of rats, doesn't he?
That's a lot of rats. It's like didn't they use like 5,000 rats in real life? Mental. That's just how did they get 5,000? Just together. Just London. Just come to London
rats,
and grab
rats. Rats, you got anything on? You lot, rats, doing anything? Fancy starring a film?
You put like casting calls down into the sewers. Wanted rats.
5,000 rats. I think it was 5,000. A lot of rats.
It's a lot, yeah. So yeah, Orlok gets himself. Is because he beats him home, doesn't he? Thomas manages to beat Orlok there.
Gets home.
A 6-week horseback ride versus a 6-week ship.
I guess you got to go round on a ship.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to say,
it takes longer.
He's gone bloody hell, and Thomas has done this classic straight line thing again. Where he's just gone.
And I love the scenes that we get on the Demeter, right? When we're saying, "Oh, these lads are poorly," and they're like, "Oh, plague!" And there's people throwing up on the ship.
Yep, so a couple of people gone missing. Few people dead, turning up, and I think they just call it plague immediately, don't they?
Yeah, and obviously they see rats everywhere, and like, why don't you check before you left the dock if there are any rats here?
I think the plague rats were in the box, weren't they? I think they were.
Yeah, the rats.
They
might be Dracula rats because he loves the rats.
He loves them rats. Yeah.
All of the rats.
It must be well awkward though, just like lying in there with him naked. If you're a rat.
Standard.
I didn't want to sleep all day, to be honest. I'm shutting in now.
Shutting in. I've barely spoken a word to him, and now I'm lying cradled upon his scrotum.
Then like a little voice comes from underneath, like, I'm underneath him, mate. What have you got to complain about?
That's true. Does he use them as like
mattress and pillow? Bit like when you take your doona from your bed onto your sofa and you put it under and over you. Little treat.
Well, like rats. A rat duvet.
Yeah.
Sounds lovely.
Makes himself a little rat corner of pillows so he can really get his rest in.
There's a lot of stuff with Ellen that we've kind of skipped over, but it does kind of go back and forth a lot during these times when Thomas is in Count Orlok's castle, doesn't it?
She's been suffering, she's been having, I think they call it the classic 1800s disease, that you got a brain fever.
Yeah. There you go. I'll tell you what, just tired.
Too much blood. Too much blood, actually.
Tired to the bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Too much blood. We get Ralph Ineson's character who's I guess he's trying to do genuine, scientific things to try and help her, isn't he?
Yeah, so he's using the humours. He's saying that he's trying to put leeches on her. He's giving her shit tons of ether, and keeping her sedated, basically, so she can't hurt herself while she's having these convulsions and the fits in the night. Yeah. Meanwhile, definitely not a baddie, insane hair. What's his name? Haircock. The estate agent. Yeah.
Hair knock.
Hair knock.
You got
Cock is a German last name. It really is.
There.
You got vampire penis on the brain, and
too much. But that's what he wants to be. He wants the powers of him. He turns up. I quite like this scene. I think actually, as much as he was the pun master to begin with, the scenes of his like growing insanity, like when Ralph Fiennes and the doctor's there, and he's telling one of his like subordinates off, saying, "I told you not to use the horrible, basically a prison cells underneath," and this guy's like, "Mate, yeah." I've seen him. He like killed a load of sheep, eating them. He's the worst. And you'll be lucky he's down there. Yeah. And they go down there and they see this guy has completely unraveled. I guess now he knows that Orlok's on his way. He's like, "Yeah, you're all fucked,
what is everybody saying, including Ellen at this point? He is coming.
He's coming.
He's coming.
He is coming. And then he's got a lovely pet pigeon. You think, oh, that's nice. He's a.
Oh no, the pigeon.
Oh, take
it
off him!
What's he doing with that pigeon? He loves it. He loves that pigeon. Look how close he is getting to it. Oh dear. Oh dear.
And he sort of fakes you out, right? He's like, "Oh no, no." Give a little kiss, like Rizzo kisses Gonzo on the nose in Muppets Christmas Carol.
There's a girl next to me when I went to see it. There was a girl sitting near me, and she just completely freaked out during that scene. And she was like, "Oh!" I think she just really affected her. I think the thing is, like, when you see things with animals, like sometimes that can affect people more than if it's like humans. And she just wasn't expecting it. I could see her getting stressed, and I'm kind of looking at her, and she's looking at me, and her hands were in the air. She was going, "She wants to do it." I was like, "Oh no!" It was sad.
It was pretty sad. Yeah. Poor old pigeon. The pigeon lady from Home Alone 2 would be absolutely
devastated.
She'd be devastated. His ass. So obviously that happens, and so this is when the Doctor basically tells Aaron Taylor-Johnson's character that he's going to consult his mentor, Albin Eberhard von Franz, a brilliant scientist who was ostracized in Switzerland for his occult beliefs. I like how he draws him in first. He goes, "Yeah, I went to university with him." Yeah,
brilliant, actually.
He's brilliant. Yeah, he was
teacher.
Ostracized for his occult beliefs. Excuse me. Ignore that last bit. Ignore that last bit.
I like the references to text here as well, because this version they talk about Van Helsing's kind of lost his credibility because he likes the works of alchemists like Agrippa and so on, which are the same books that are mentioned and are studied in the text of Frankenstein. These are the authors that Victor Frankenstein studies when he gets into alchemy, which leads him to create the monster. That was cool. I liked that.
Yeah, they go and visit him, and he's a little bit dazed and confused. He's got a lovely little hat on, liked his little hat, and they have to talk to him. They talk to him in Latin to wake him up.
Yeah, he's a little bit like worse wear, and he's like saying, "Oh, no, my experiments haven't worked. I haven't been able to turn any gold this week." And then it's almost like he says magic words to him. He like Mufasa's him and goes, "Remember who you are," and he goes, "Of course."
Yeah. Do you like? I like the fact that this character doesn't have all the answers. You know, when usually you get a character in a film like this, not necessarily a classic horror like this, but a character turns up who's an expert and they fill in all the blanks and they give you loads of exposition and now we know what to do. But what I like about Von Franz is he doesn't know and he is trying to work this out as much as possible. He doesn't come to the conclusion of Ellen's under the spell of Nosferatu for ages. Takes him ages, right?
Yeah.
Which I like. I think that's good. I think that makes it feel more believable. Because if you just turned up and went, classic case of Nosferatu, this is, you know, then I think everyone would be like, well,
I've dealt with this a few times. Don't you worry.
Yeah. So yeah, it does take him a while. He works it out. I think they kind of like realize that the plague has arrived as well, and they kind of like put two and two together. Well, plague's arrived
because the Demeter hits the ship, the yards.
Yeah,
I tell you what, he's raging, isn't he? He's like, "It's 3 a.m. when he comes to the door.
Yeah. Who could be at my house?
Kids are awake.
3 a.m. How
it's Christmas. The Christmas tree's up.
Well, this is another thing, right? So obviously this film did come out on Christmas Day. I didn't expect it to actually take place over Christmas, right?
Yeah, Christmas film.
This is 100% a Christmas movie, without a doubt. There's a Christmas tree. Is that it?
Yeah, it does. As soon as there's it's like Die Hard. Die Hard is a Christmas film. It's set around Christmas. Is a Christmas film. Like that. That's simple as that. So when I looked at this, saw Christmas tree. I was like, "Yep, Christmas film."
If you're trying to convince your family to go and watch Nosferatu on Christmas Day, and you found out there was a Christmas tree in it, you could sell this to any of your family members. It's definitely a Christmas film. Yeah,
It's not Terrifier 3 Christmas film. It's not that scary.
No, it's not. It's a story of a man with a mustache.
Yeah.
Has he got a beard? No. But he comes into your house via the window, not the chimney. But
A magic key.
Yeah. Does he leave you any gifts?
Well,
No, he does
He's
give you
more
a
of a
3-day
taker than a
ultimatum,
giver.
though.
He gives you an ultimatum. He brings a nice ultimatum. What I also like, I know we're skipping ahead a little bit, but where he goes on the third night. This one's included, though. Just so you know, this one's included. Oh,
This is the first one.
This is the first night. This one here includes this one.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know. I feel
Your creepy internet boyfriend has returned and said, right, consent's really important to me, but I am going to kill everyone you love for the next 3 days until you give, by your own free will, consent to be with me, Nosferatu.
Yeah, I'm going to force you to consent. I was like, that kind of defeats the object there, Orlok. You're wronging.
Man. If Thomas had been a better lawyer, could have really gotten around this.
Yeah.
Objection.
Thomas is. We forgot to say that Thomas is home as well, right? He turned up.
Oh yeah, and that signifies the end of the madness that we've seen from Mina already. She falls much like she stopped having the nightmares when she met Thomas. When she wakes up having a vision of him returning, and we think it's going to be Orlok. She's like, oh, he's arrived, and then she runs down and we see the horse arrive and he falls.
Yeah.
And she seems to recover quite a lot following his arrival home.
I reckon falling from horseback onto a cobbled street in 1838, you're done.
Be the end.
You're done. That is it. You're over. I was worried at this point they were going to write out this character. I thought he was just going to be in bed poorly / hungover from his 12-week long trip. So I was kind of glad that we got him back, even though there is a pretty funny bit where him and Ellen are like leaving the house, going back to their gaff, and they look like a couple who've just like left an afters party at like 5 a.m. Just like holding each other along.
Yeah, it is like the streets of San Antonio Bay. It was like 7 in the morning.
It was like Camden. It was like Camden in 2005 with like with Noel Fielding and Amy Winehouse, just everyone. It was like that.
Yeah, so he's arrived. Horrible. His assistant breaks out. That was another quite scary bit when he escapes from the asylum. He's been strapped to a chair and he's knocked it sideways, and he goes, "Oh, come and help us! I've been knocked sideways in this chair." And then when this guy comes, he bites his throat out and then escapes and takes Orlok to his new house.
Tons of people are dying as well from the plague at this point.
Yeah, they start. Well, this is the time the boats arrive, the rats come off, and then people will immediately start dying.
I feel like I've got mixed up with the Nosferatu the Vampire bit, but there is a great bit in Nosferatu the Vampire where Isabella's character says, "I want to see this person." They're like, "He's dead from the plague." He's like, "Well, I demand to see the mayor then."
He's dead.
He's dead from the plague as well. Everyone's dead from the plague. The whole hierarchy of like anyone in the town is dead from the plague.
Take him to prison. No one's running the prison. They're dead.
No one there. Everyone's dead. Everyone's locked in there. Everyone's locked in the cells, dead.
That's not that one. This is this one. So, his assistant takes him to the new house. I tell you what, there's no way to be talking to your staff, is it?
Oh, what with the new? How do they get to the new house as well? Because it looks like you can only
takes him on like a boat, doesn't he?
Boat, is that right?
A little boat.
So where
punts him along the Thames to?
So where is it? Is it just on a little?
It's conveniently on a hill overlooking the entire town at the end of the river.
Oh yeah, because then we get the big scene. This scene was, again, I'm skipping ahead, but the scene with the big shadow hand was good, right? That was good.
Amazing.
Yeah, I love the shadow hand.
I think the soundtrack's great as well. I'm not actually sure who did the soundtrack.
Just the sound design, everything was like, it was so intense. Like just like everything's in the. I think I was like, I think that with the people I was with, I think at least 50% of them were just so, sometimes you go, people will have a little chat, like they were just so engrossed in this film.
Mhm.
And every time there was sound, you could just, it's like you could feel the fear. Everyone was like, oh, it was just so intense.
Mm.
Such an intense experience.
Robin Carolan is a composer of the score. He did the Northman as well.
Ooh.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I think a very effective,
Oh,
almost like understated soundtrack in a way, isn't it? It's not got big like swooping themes and like tons and tons of strings, but when it does
mm.
appear, it's very effective, isn't it?
Yeah, and I
Yeah, I
love the
like
bit.
this score.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant song, and like in keeping with the time, it feels very authentic to the time that it's meant to be kind of set in as well. And like you get that
Mm.
scene with his, he does his shadowy hand across the thing. Imagine if you were with him, you're like, "What are you doing? Just casting my shadow across the town."
Oh yes,
If
I'm
you were
gonna
doing
read.
a sweeping shot over the town, this would look brilliant.
It would look insanely good, and it's such like a great shot because it tells you so much as well.
Yeah,
We know exactly what he's doing in that moment. It's great.
yeah, he's
Um,
kind of like spreading that disease, and the rats that have come with him are. I take it we're meant to believe that like it isn't only like he's not vampiring everyone. Some people are genuinely dying of plague that he has
yeah,
brought
Mm.
with him.
he has brought the plague, doesn't he? He is the plague bringer, and that's what we get a lot of good lines from Willem Dafoe at this point as well. He says something about Isaac
To fight
Newton.
evil, you must
Was
first acknowledge it exists. 'Cause he's having a
yeah,
big row with the folks that don't believe that there is a vampire.
yeah. What does he say about Isaac Newton? It's
He
quite.
says
It's probably,
something about his, oh, it was
I've
actually
seen
really
things
funny.
that would make Isaac Newton.
Crawl into his
Crawl back
mother's
into his mother's
womb.
womb.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Probably the only laugh of the film, right?
Oh, that got a proper laugh where I was. Like
Yeah.
that.
And his delivery of "We are now encountering the undead plague," because this is the thing. Orlok is an undead monster.
Yeah.
He's not sexy vampire man, although some people might be attracted to him in other ways. Again, I'm not judging anyone, but he is an undead, like zombified kind of creature, really, isn't he?
Mm.
Yeah.
Scary.
He's a state.
Bit of
I
a
was
mess.
I was trying to put it nicely. So
He's
can we get
not
him?
like a Twilight vampire. He's not
Yeah.
sparkly. Not like that.
He does a bit as well where he like proper he's proper out of order for this. He gets into Ellen's head and basically goes, basically, I told Thomas to sell you to me. Basically, give me the
Mm.
money and you can have my wife.
And
And
he
he
did
did.
it.
And he did it. And she goes, "Oh no, he'd never do that." And Orlok goes, he did. I guarantee you. There's a Jeremy Kyle episode somewhere with Orlok one side saying, "Yeah, I got him to sign the paperwork," and Thomas going, "Fucking come on,
Yeah.
get
Again, if
me."
Thomas had been a better lawyer and said, I couldn't read it.
I couldn't actually read it, mate. Well, so, and Jeremy Kyle would say, "So you signed it? If you couldn't read it." Yeah, I did. He was
He
probably
is getting
shaking when he
struck. I
signed it.
mean,
Wasn't
like, if Thomas ultimately survives this plague and the Nosferatu come in, he is being struck off as a,
he? Oh yeah.
as a solicitor and
I mean,
an estate agent.
he'll just blame it all on your boss. I reckon. You get away with that.
Oh, your boss
Boss gone
that's
mental.
been in the asylum and is a murderer. Yeah, you could get away with that.
You really could. Um. So yeah, turns up.
So the plague is there. They've been cast out of their family's house because their things are escalating and they want to get
Yeah.
away. And that's where I got my laugh of the film when it was like, please, Thomas is still really poorly.
I don't. So they don't. Do they get cast out before the other people? Oh yeah, they do get cast out before the other
Mhm.
people are killed, don't they?
Yeah,
And
'cause they
basically we
have
get a
the
little bit of history as well. That like she called out to Nosferatu in some way as a child, summoned him, made a pact.
yeah.
And basically Orlok is basically saying you got to keep at your end of the bargain from this pact.
Yeah.
First of all, Orlok, what are you doing making a pact with a child when you're like hundreds of years old?
We
That's
call
the
it
end of the
grooming
first-
nowadays,
Bit
Nosferatu.
creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beyond a bit creepy, but very creepy. He's like, basically, you got to do this, otherwise, I will kill Thomas. The whole play will concern Weisborg. Um, yeah, Thomas, I think initially is shocked at Ellen's past revelations, past relations with Orlok, but like, I don't think anything. It's all been
when it comes out in this meeting, after they're back at their house, then he believes it. She goes, "Oh, Thomas, I got to tell you, right? I made a pact with this horrible demon monster, and now he claims me as his. And you'll never believe this, but he's a horrible, immortal vampire." He goes, "Oh, I know, I've met him."
I know, I've met him. Listen, Ellen, you've told me about your exes, right? And I've never had a good feeling about them. They all sound like assholes, all right?
But now I've met this one, and he's literally the devil.
He's literally the bloody devil. He's been sucking on my chest like it's gone out of fashion. So, yeah, he says 3 days. This one's included.
3 days, this one's included. But, like, I cannot stress enough that consent is important, Ellen, all right? So, yeah, so first day, which is this one, I'm going to make you friend Paulie. I'll do that in just a minute. Hold the phone. Then I'll kill more people you love. And then the last day, I'll kill Thomas if you don't, by your own free will, consent to fill your pact with me.
I just remembered the bit when Thomas and Ellen are arguing. They randomly have sex in the middle of the argument.
Yep.
Was that... Did I misunderstand? Were they trying to do it to kind of like almost like chastise Orlok? Because obviously he could see, I expect. He's always watching.
If it's not in his rat box, then yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird one because like you can get into it later as well, but it's like you were saying earlier, like there's so many ways that if you look at this of what it actually is, it is really, really creepy. But then you've got like a lot of women coming forward saying, no, this is a beautiful love story. So it depends on how you look at it. It's like I guess like kind of it's a weird comparison, but I guess kind of in a way like the Phantom of the Opera, where it's like a control thing, but he's like really, you know what I mean? So people are talking about that, but the scene with him, at the moment that we're talking about, it was like it was almost needed because he's like still her husband and someone that she does love in a way. That's how I looked at it. But then I was like, she's so craving everything else at the moment. In my opinion, it was like she just needed it. Yeah, that's how I looked at it.
She kind of almost like in defiance of him says, "Oh, like let him watch." Actually, apparently, Orlok's into that as well.
But you know what's really strange?
Not to kink shame him, Orlok. You're into what you're into.
It's what it is. Yeah.
It's strange though, isn't it? Because it's like Thomas is a victim of his as well. It's not like she's exclusively a victim of his, and by her doing this, she's like reclaiming her sexuality in that moment with her husband to try and like be defiant in the face of Orlok, who is essentially like her abuser in a way. And then but then Thomas has also been on the receiving end of it. So like his place in this story at this point is kind of strange in a way, because it's like he could just take the role of like hero of White Knight in that way, but he is also fighting against someone who's committed these acts against him. I just think it's a really interesting dynamic that they've got going on in this final act of the film.
Yeah.
And then while they're doing this, that is the second night. So Orlok goes back to the Harding house and murders both Anna and the children.
Oh, that was
absolute
brutal.
Yeah, brutal, uncalled for. Orlok.
I didn't see that coming. But with the kids, I did not see that coming at all. Like I think that got the biggest shock when I was there.
And like he's used his magic to make sure that Harding himself sleeps through the whole thing.
So here, sorry to jump in there, guys.
I do it.
Here in the Wikipedia description, it says after Thomas and Ellen indulge in sex, Orlok, in revenge, brutally murders Anna and her young daughters.
Interesting.
Didn't he say he was going to do it anyway, though? He said, "I'm going to kill Thomas, but everyone you love will die."
So he's angry at seeing what he saw, so he's going straight to the person that they care about.
Maybe he extra kills them because of that. But he was going to still have a reign of terror anyway, I think.
Yeah.
Just made him more angry.
Yeah.
And I think like the cut from these moments of violence straight to that funeral, like I proper felt the grief there. I was like, oh my God. Like the fact that obviously there's a plague running through the town, yes, but then Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, I keep calling him that. What's his name?
Friedrich.
Friedrich. He's literally lost everyone now. He's lost his pregnant wife and then his two daughters.
This fella has a big roller coaster because a day ago he was like, "Stop saying it's a vampire." Then he has one look. He has one look at Thomas's chest and goes,
"Suppose you're right.
It's a vampire, isn't it? What have I done?"
Yeah.
But that was the scene that I thought he was really good in as well, and that's
Yeah,
why
I
I
think
was
it was great.
confused that people were saying that he wasn't good. I was like, oh, I felt like that he was really good in that scene.
Yeah. Kind of definitely felt that grief. And then basically they all get together as a lovely team up, hatch
Yeah,
a
so
plan to trap
it's what
Orlok in there.
Franz, Dr. Severs,
Yeah.
Harding, and Thomas all together.
Yeah. And then
Obviously with Ellen as well.
Ellen, just as they're dropping Orlok off, we'll drop him off first. He lives the closest. Von Franz, sorry, not Orlok.
And he's not there.
He lives the closest. He lives the closest. We'll drop him off. And as we drop him off, sorry, I've got to have a word with him. I'll go and tell him the real plan. This is what I'm really going to do.
We're going to go to his house and wreck. That's the plan they come up with. They're like, right, what we'll do is we'll go to his house, we'll wreck it so he can't have anywhere to go to bed, and then we'll stab him in the heart we'll get there before he wakes up and we'll kill him.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd have a backup, wouldn't you? If you were a centuries old vampire.
Yeah, but Von Franz has the real plan. He says, right, here's the real plan. Actually, it says here in this book that I found that the only way to get him is for you to keep him out until morning. You've got to make sure he pulls an all-nighter. So actually, what we're doing is just a distraction mission, so Thomas or anyone don't get in the way of what we're doing. And then the sacrifice is all on you, all right? She goes, yep, got it. And we show here that Ellen has some, like, she completely unconnected to anything that's vampire related. She has, like, mysterious powers of her own, right? Because he says, like, oh, in Egypt times, if this was the mummy in the Dark Universe, you'd been a priestess of that or something. You'd have had, you'd have been like an oracle or something like that. But it so happens that you live here in modern times, 1830s. So this is what your lot is.
And everyone just thinks you're a bit mad, unfortunately. So yeah, what happens? Thomas and the Doctor and Von Franz, they all go to where Orlok sleeps and basically just fuck his shit up.
This was quite a good bit. I like it when they're getting ready to stake him, and it is Herr Knock.
Yeah. Well, it's not even getting ready to stake him. They literally stake him. Could have been anyone. Could have been anyone in there.
And then he sits and goes, bloody hell, not him.
Straight in.
Oh!
It could have been anyone. Open it, dead. Immediately dead.
Yeah.
But Von Franz is loving it. He's burning up the rats. He's cackling.
Yeah.
He's having the best time. I think
he's having a great time.
This is the first.
And this is when Thomas realizes, he goes, hang on a minute. This was never the plan, was it? He goes, nah.
Yeah. I mean, just before as well, we kind of thought that maybe Friedrich was going to have a heroic moment, but no, he dies of the plague while kissing his dead wife.
Yeah, that was sad.
It was pretty sad, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like, I think there was so much like emotion in that, and it was like you were kind of looking at him like, oh my god, what is he doing? But you're like, you don't know how he's feeling. It's such a weird scene. It's such a sad moment.
Yeah. There's another like really tragic story there, like separate from all the vampire stuff, really, isn't there? Like from his point of view, like it's pretty horrific. Yeah. So basically, while this is happening, Ellen is summoning Orlok to her chamber, and the whole plan is essentially let him suck your blood until the sun comes up, and he won't have anywhere to go and hide because we would have destroyed his coffin.
Even if they hadn't destroyed the coffin, he ain't getting back. The cockerel's already going.
How's he gonna get it with a blanket on his head? Look at it!
I get that.
No.
Yeah, because he has one little look at the time. He goes, "Oh, should I be getting off?" And she goes, "Oh no, have some more blood." He goes,
he even stops, and she goes, "More, have a little bit more," and he does.
Like, oh, go on, I mustn't really, but you are a devil.
You are a devil. Sees the sun coming up.
And he goes, "I've fucked it, lads.
I've absolutely fucked it." This is the thing. When people go, "Oh, being a vampire, it'd be great because you'd be immortal," but I'm like, you're more susceptible to dying than like as a human. You just live longer. Like, oh no, I've stayed out too long, dead.
Yeah, and there's not a very specific thing I have to drink as a human as well. It's not like, oh god, if I don't get an apple tango,
discontinued.
No. You can only get it at like corner shops, not a supermarket for love and the money.
Done for. But this, obviously, he dies when the sunlight hits him. this sort of like scene where is it Von Franz appears and like puts flowers around their body, and then I was kind of surprised. Did both of you expect Ellen to also die, or did you think maybe she was gonna survive?
I just like I have so much to say about that scene. I just thought it was like it's gonna sound really weird. I thought it was like beautiful. Like I was so shocked at how beautiful it was. Like and
It
that's
was
the scene I
beautiful,
wanted to talk about was everyone that was there. There was especially like women as well. Like we were looking at each other like some of us were like, whoa, and the other half were like, oh. And it was so interesting because it was like it is really sad, but then you're like, but is it? Because is this like it was such a juxtaposition thing. It was so interesting to see, but it was like a really beautiful shot in the ends that everyone was just like, I've never ever seen like heard such silence when the movie ended. Like everyone was in complete shock. We just sat there in silence, and I was like, that was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. As dark as that sounds, like it was just so well done. But I don't think I did expect her to die. I thought it was just going to be him, and then she was going to be sad. But it was like almost weirdly poetic in a way that they both died. Yeah.
And I think the
Mm.
sight of him as a creature afterwards,
Yeah.
the malevolence and I guess the size and the power that he portrays throughout the
Mm.
film, and then when you see him when he's all withered by the sun,
Mm.
like it's not you know, it's not a big dramatic death. It's not a like a "I'll get you" and then disappears as he bursts into
Mm.
flames. It's quite a
Yeah.
sad and almost
Really sad.
pathetic specimen. He's all withered up,
Yeah.
and as we know, skip leg day. Um,
Yeah, it just did feel really sad. And I also felt like that was for me, it was the first time that we really saw him like properly. So it took
yeah,
like, for me, it took the whole
Yeah.
movie. I don't know if everyone else felt like that, but there was little parts of him that you could see as the movie went on. But that final scene was like, oh my God, this is him. And he's so scary and so intimidating. But you kind of, I don't know if you did feel for him in a way when it was ending, because you're like, such an interesting emotion.
I
That
think
was
this
just
for
my
me
take
is
on
This
it.
is like what's such an interesting take at the end, and I bet all three of us will have a different read.
Yeah.
And like you say, in your cinema screening, lots of people will have felt
Yeah.
about it differently depending on how
Mm.
you read the characters. And I think
Mm.
there is no right or wrong. There is several
Mm.
ways you can read this whole thing, which is probably colored by your experiences, I guess, and
Mm.
just how you saw the film.
Yeah.
I guess the sadness for me was that like she'd essentially sacrificed herself to like save everyone, I guess.
Mm.
Not even
Yeah,
just
because the
herself.
shadow of the plague is lifted. You see, like
Yeah.
the rats going. Franz picks up that cat. Says, "Right, mate, you've got some work to do. Go and get some of these rats out of here."
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, Cat.
All the
Uh,
rats.
yeah, it is a very poetic ending. Okay, right. Before we rate the film, we should play a little bit of name game. Do you fancy it, Andy?
Yeah, go on.
So, Ashley, basically what we do is we give you a synopsis of a movie that
Hmm.
sounds a bit like Nosferatu, but isn't quite Nosferatu. These are all films that don't exist as well. Just to clear up
Oh.
that just to clear up that confusion, because sometimes after we give you one clue and you get it, the rest the rest of the game will be very clear.
So these are
Andy,
not real.
these are not
No.
real films. We're going to give you
Okay.
a synopsis. They
Imagine if the
rhyme.
good folks at the asylum were making a Nosferatu film with a very
They
slightly different script.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they rhyme with Nosferatu.
Okay.
That's literally it. Um,
Okay.
okay, so the synopsis for Nosferatu is a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and a terrifying vampire infatuated with her. Do you want me to go first, Andy?
Yes, please, Ben.
Okay. So this film is a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and the terrifying shift manager vampire that's infatuated with her, always following her around, liking all of her Instagram photos, and he's always on the same shift as her as well. It's really annoying.
Okay.
Shift manager.
So I can't just make up a name. It's actually a name.
You can make up a name.
Oh,
I'm
I will say
confused.
before we say a word, Ashley, I'm imagining that the rhyming will be loose at best.
The
Is it,
rhyming
Ben?
is loose at best. Yes.
Is it Bosferatu?
Bosferatu is the answer. Yes.
Oh, it
Bosferatu.
is.
There you go.
I was just thinking of the bad internet boyfriend again. I went straight to
very similarly.
It's very similar. That is kind of what made me think I wanted to do it. Yeah. Have you got any more, Andy? Because I got some.
I'll do one for you, Ben.
Okay.
For this to work, the pronunciation of this word has to be specifically from the region I grew up in. But in this gothic tale, having spent 6 weeks traveling to Romania to sign some paperwork, Thomas is devastated to find out that actually his mode of transport was the vampire all along.
Please don't tell me you've put the word horse in Nosferatu and it's
That's right.
Nosferatu.
People from Tamworth pronounce it a very similar way. They all say osses. Osferatu.
Osferatu.
Yeah. But it means horse.
Jesus.
Oh, it's like it's a horse or a boat.
Yeah.
It has to be a horse.
This one there.
Osferatu. I'll gift you with an insult if someone's got a horsey face. You can call them os chops. That's fun, isn't it?
Os chops.
Yeah.
This one has got two sides to it. Essentially, it's got two answers. If you get one, you get the other.
Okay.
I apologize in advance. A gothic tale of obsession between a young pop band made up of two brothers who were famous in the 80s and the terrifying vampire infatuated with them. They sung a song that went, "When will I be famous?"
Yeah, it is, of course, Brosferatu.
Oh, Brosferatu.
Brosferatu. What was the other side to it, though, Andy? Did you know?
The other side to Brosferatu?
Using their surnames.
Oh, Gosferatu.
Gosferatu.
Luke and Matt Gosferatu.
And Luke Goss, was it Luke Goss? Played Gosferatu in Blade 2 as well, didn't he?
He does, doesn't he? Yeah.
He
Clever.
does. Any more, Andy?
Yes. Here's another one for you. I'm making these up as I go. Apologies.
Me too.
So, in this gothic tale, Thomas arrives in the distant countryside of Transylvania to strike up a deal with an old count, only to find out that he's stayed still in his coffin for so long that that green plants have grown all over him. Very, very soft to sit on, though. He's got green algae-like plants all over his body, this vampire.
Mosferatu.
Mosferatu.
I got one right, yeah.
Yes. It's Mosferatu.
So proud of myself.
Well done. Okay, I am kind of making these up. I know the word, but I'm finding the descriptions hard. A gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young footballer who played for Manchester United in the late 90s and early 2000s and his Spice Girl vampire girlfriend.
Poshferatu.
Poshferatu.
Mosferatu.
Is correct.
I'm getting good.
In this version, though, hope you're ready for it. Moving further afield, the vampire in question, Count Orlok, doesn't buy property in Germany or London in this version, but in New York City. And he has terrible problems getting his sofa up the stairs to his new apartment, and he's shouting, "Pivot, pivot," all the time as they're trying to move it.
Rosferatu.
Rosferatu.
That was my next one.
I'm a big Friends fan, so I was definitely going to get
That was my next one. I didn't know what to say for it either. I'll tell you what, I'd watch Rosferatu.
David Schwimmer as Rosferatu.
He'd have the sandwich with a moist maker, but it would be soaked with blood instead of gravy. My sandwich. Imagine saying "my sandwich," but in a really deep voice.
I would watch that.
And with a big moustache.
I mean, that was going to be my last one, so I think I've run out.
You
run out, Andy?
I mean, I could do one where he's either a type of lettuce or a Greek island.
A lettuce or a Greek island?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's like Rhodes. It's not Rhodes. No.
He's also a type of lettuce.
I'm trying to think of types of lettuce.
Showing you up not getting your 5 a day. It's, of course, Cosferatu.
Cosferatu. Okay. Oh, how am I going to do this? Jesus. Okay. A A gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young English singer-songwriter from
Devon and Cornwall, by
Devon
any
and
chance?
Cornwall. Yeah.
Is it?
Who's
Joss
famous?
Stone Ferratu.
Joss Stone Ferratu. Or
Ferratu.
Joss Ferratu. Joss Ferratu's
Joss, if you're
fine.
familiar with her, yeah.
Joss. Yeah, exactly. I think that might be it there. I think that was one step too far.
We've managed every rhyme.
We've managed
You did
everything.
well.
Everyone did well. Congratulations, everybody. Now we've got to rate the film. A to F. Pluses and minuses are allowed. Ashley, would you like to go first? How would you rate Nosferatu?
Stupid question, but is A the highest or is F the
Yes,
highest?
you're allowed pluses and minuses.
Pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
The A plus would be the highest.
Do you know what? Do you know? I'm probably gonna go A plus just because I haven't actually been affected this much by a horror movie in a very long time. I mean, I watch a lot of horror films, as everyone knows, but I think just as a cinema experience as well, I've never felt like that for a very long time. And I think he's done such an amazing job, and it's such good acting, it's such good cast, and I can't think of anything I didn't like about it. I can't fault it. So yeah, I'm gonna give it that.
Wow,
That's
high,
good.
high
Yeah,
plaudits.
I
Indeed. Well,
am.
it's good, isn't it? It's good that films can affect, especially when you watch tons of films. It's still good when a film like that comes along, affects you in such a way.
Yeah.
I'm not quite going to go for an A plus. I'm going to go for an A minus.
Still good.
I would like to see it again. Yeah, still good, still
Yeah.
good. I did enjoy it. It feels like a return to form for Eggers, despite the fact that I do like The Lighthouse and I do like The Northman, but it felt like this really just captured that sort of classic horror vibe, which I really enjoyed with The Witch. Great performances all around, great visuals. Just feels like a real like cinematic event, doesn't it? I think that's what it feels like, and I love when they come along, and I enjoy them. So, and the gothic horror romance thing, I feel like we need more of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Hell yeah, Andy.
Been conflicted about this, you guys. I've thought about it long and hard, and I think actually discussing with you two this evening has maybe pulled me up a little bit from where we were. I didn't want to talk about this while we were going through. I came out versus all the hype, maybe a little cold on it as an adaptation, in particular. And the one thing I've never needed any further convincing of was the performances and the visual language that was used in this film, always exquisite throughout. I've wrestled the last the last week or so since we saw it with it as an adaptation, and I think my original takeaway coming out of the cinema was that some of the romance and eroticism of the original text was maybe lost in a more explicit version that we got here, and struggling with the fact that some of it, in some cases, particularly, we joke about him coming and talking about the consent of it all while being quite coercive in other ways. Maybe it didn't sit quite right with me. And I think comparing it to watching the 1970s version just before, where I think a lot of the sympathy is drawn for the character, in a way that I certainly related with, maybe I was left a little bit colder on some of the writing behind it. I think talking to you two about it, and Ashley in particular, hearing your takes about it, maybe I've come up a little bit.
That's nice
on
to
that
hear.
from your
Yeah.
from your description. And you know what? And I've also been toying with another thing as well. The more I think about the forcefulness of this all-powerful count and how he's eventually undone by being dragged into the light by normal people and no longer feeding from them. Maybe there's an allegory for billionaires in there as well. Who knows? But I think where I'm going to net out is probably at a B for now. I'm going to watch it again and see how much I can get there. But right now, I think a B. Still very good, visually
Still
superb,
good.
but narratively didn't grab me immediately. It might take some more time.
It's good.
That's fair.
Some slightly different, varied opinions, but that's good. That's good. That's
We said we'd
healthy.
finish up on, Dracula, the most adapted character of literature of all time. If you don't count things that are, religion, I think the characters that are most appear on film are the devil and then Jesus. But behind those guys, it's Dracula is number one from literature. So, favorite overall Dracula movies, any other big picks that hit your lists? Is Nosferatu your number one? Are there others that are in consideration?
Oh, I was thinking about this because when I watched the Gary Oldman thing last night, I was like, what one do I like more? Because I was like, oh, I obviously like Nosferatu more, but then I watched it again and I was like, oh, I really appreciate this film as well. So I'm not sure. Like, yeah, from Dracula, I guess in a way, it's like slightly tangent, but I think like just overall as a vampire movie, like Interview with a Vampire is one of my favorite vampire films. But I think if I watch this again, it may be this one. I think it may be. I think I just have to see it again because I have only watched it once. And obviously you do have to watch films more than once to get like that definite opinion. But yeah, vampire wise, Interview with a Vampire for me, but for this, I'd probably say this one for now. I think so anyway. Yeah, I just love this
Taking
movie.
the top spot.
Yeah.
How about you, Ben?
Bram Stoker's Dracula for me, I think it was one of those films when we recently did it on the show. Well, recently, it's been a while now. When we did it on the show, it made me go from being like, that's pretty good, that film, to being like, that's one of my favorite films. I feel like Gary Oldman's Dracula, you really understand his pain. Love his red armor as well. All over that red armor.
Oh, it's chocolate bunny armor. Yeah.
Love.
I love the red.
Desperate to get hold of some armor like that. He is serving looks in that film as well. Like there are so many looks, and not just humanoid looks. We're talking Wolfman looks,
Big
horrible
pile of rats looks.
old man with the boobs on his head.
Oh, the
That shit.
circles in the head. That was weird.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, just a great. I think it's one of my favorites. So for me, it's always that. What about you, Andy?
I mean, if you want a spectacle, I mean, for you, similar to you, Ben, I love the the Bram Stoker's Dracula adaptation. I think good, close to the text itself, like adapted in its time, but performances were off the chain and so on. I really do like the 70s Nosferatu as well. I think there's a lot of sympathy there. But if you want a spectacle, you need to watch yourself Dracula 2000 3D, Dario Argento's
I knew you were
own.
going to say that. How do I know you're going to say that?
Because I know you know that I like bad, weird shit, and that is madness. I believe the entire film is on YouTube. Go and watch it. And of course, not gonna have a Dracula conversation without mentioning my favorite adaptation. Of course, the fine actor Leslie Nielsen and his work on Dead and Loving It. Can't get enough. Mostly for that bit where Renfield calls after his master, and then everyone looks at him and he goes, I mean, Mister. Love it. Stupid stuff.
We love the stupid stuff. Awesome. Okay. That was Nosferatu. That was a bit of a bumper episode, but we had lots to discuss. There was lots to discuss.
Hundreds of years of content
Hundreds of years of content,
to mill
exactly.
over. Thank you for sticking with us, Ashley, for a long one.
No, I've actually had a really good time. Moriarty has made a little appearance.
Moriarty.
Hey.
He's like kind of in between. He's like, I don't know what to do. He's
don't know what to
very,
do.
very scatty.
On camera.
No,
Thank you for
it's been
joining us.
amazing.
It's been fun. Thanks for joining us, Ashley. Where can our listeners, obviously, as I said, we will put links to everything we discussed in the show notes, but just so our listeners know, where can we find you online on TikTok and various places?
So my TikTok is just Ashley B Red, and my Instagram is Ashley B Red Music Official, and you can just find me under Spotify, Apple Music, everything under Ashley B Red.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Amazing.
Recommend that you do. Get stuck in.
Go and
Thank
check
you.
it out. Thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to our patrons over there. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Thanks to Rusty Quill. Please consider giving us a rating or review. And head over to www.horrorhangout.co.uk for all of our content in one place, including Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all over the place. And next week's episode will be covering Train to Busan with special guest Zara Mary. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But for now, have a lovely, lovely, restful night's sleep, everybody, whether you're lying on a bed of rats, a bed of dirt, in a lovely coffin, with a pickaxe next to your bed, because you never know. You never know.
Never
You never do
know.
know. And then join us next week. You do have to consent to join us next week, but if you don't, every day, I will kill someone you love. Okay, bye, everybody.
This day
Bye.
included, right?
This day included. See you later. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.